This girl had used all her courage to express her feelings to the boy she liked. Contrary to her feelings, he rejected her harshly. But what he didn't expect was that the girl he refused was actually the one he secretly loved in the game. The two of them were both experienced players in major tournaments. Wherever there was Tianling, there was Gu Qin. But the cruel part was, they only knew each other in the game and had never met in real life. Because she couldn't stand the unfairness in the company, Tianling decided to ask her boss for permission to resign. At that moment, someone in the neighboring department had also just submitted a resignation letter. When the boss said that it was from Project Department 9 and that the new superior was only a fourth-year student, she became even more curious. Tianling was completely stunned when she realized it was her crush. Even when Gu Qin finished all the procedures for his new position, she still hadn't reacted. It wasn't until the boss reminded her that Tianling suddenly came to her senses. When she turned around, intending to stop the boss from stamping her resignation letter, it was already too late. Later, she complained to her friend that right after she finished resigning, Gu Qin had joined the company. Her friend only laughed and said that the fate between the two of them was really amazing. At that time, Tianling could only leave the company with regret, but she didn't know that her crush was actually the friend who often played games with her. At the same time, the campus heartthrob, who was actually Gu Qin, sent an invitation for Tianling to play the game together. However, because of the crush, Tianling didn't want to play anymore. She even told Gu Qin that she would only play if she got paid 500 yuan per hour. Meanwhile, Gu Qin's roommate was ready to log into the game. Seeing that Tianling still hadn't arrived, Gu Qin told everyone to wait a little longer. His friends teased him, saying he cared more about girls than his friends. They also said that before, Gu Qin rarely played shooting games, but since the player with the nickname Nuomi Xiaomahua appeared, he had been online very often. Because of that, this time he just smiled lightly without saying anything. Seeing him like that, his roommate couldn't help but tease him again. At that moment, Tianling had just returned to her dorm when she received a transfer notice from Gu Qin. He had bought 10 hours of playtime to invite her to join. When Tianling saw Gu Qin's actions in the game, she couldn't help but say that his IQ was a bit low. Then everyone logged into the game together. Seeing Tianling playing games in the middle of the day, Gu Qin's roommate curiously asked why she wasn't at work today. Talking about quitting her job made Tianling even angrier. She immediately joined the match to let out her anger. Watching how Tianling controlled her character in the game, Gu Qin couldn't help but feel moved. When the match ended, everyone noticed that she was unhappy. Hearing Tianling say that she had just been heartbroken made Gu Qin feel as if his heart had fallen into a deep pit because he thought she already had a boyfriend. But it turned out Tianling didn't. It was just her crush, someone she had met many times, but he always acted like he didn't know her. So Tianling felt like she had been heartbroken. Hearing this, Gu Qin finally felt relieved. When Junnan heard that, he immediately teased that Gu Qin still had a chance. That morning, while Tianling was still sleeping, she suddenly received a call from a former colleague. The person told her she had left a pair of gloves at the company. Knowing this was a chance to go back there, Tianling couldn't help but feel excited and happy. Right away, Tianling chose a gentle-style outfit for herself and hurried to the company. When she entered the elevator and saw Gu Qin, she immediately tried to act like a sweet and graceful girl she had learned to be, hoping to catch his attention, but unexpectedly, her hair got stuck in the elevator door. In a panic, Tianling shouted for help, afraid that she would become bald if no one helped her in time. Luckily, Gu Qin quickly helped her free her hair with ease. After the incident, Tianling hurried to fix her appearance and gently greeted him with a good morning. However, before she could be happy, Gu Qin calmly said that Tianling had already resigned. That sentence strangely made her happy because at least Gu Qin still remembered her. Then Tianling went to find the HR manager and said she wanted to return to work. When the manager told her that the chance of being rehired was low, she was not discouraged, especially when she saw Gu Qin focusing on fixing bugs in the game project. She became even more determined to stay at the company no matter what. But while Tianling was on her way to an interview for another job, she suddenly received a call from her former boss. He said that the company agreed to let her return and even offered her 3,000 yuan more than her old salary. Hearing that, Tianling felt as if a lucky star had fallen on her. Immediately, she went back to the company to complete the rehiring process. Before leaving the HR office, she saw a set of documents that needed to be sent to Project Department No. 9, so she offered to deliver them herself. After all, this was a rare chance for her to get close to Gu Qin. When she reached the office door and saw his back, Tianling couldn't help but imagine how surprised he would be to see her return. Unfortunately, everything stayed in her imagination. The romantic reunion scene didn't happen. Instead, the stack of documents accidentally fell and hit her face. When Gu Qin Chen asked if she needed help just a second before. Tianling quickly said no, but the next second, she held out her slender hand to ask for his help. Seeing that no one was paying attention, Tianling quickly went back to her gentle and graceful image. After returning to the dorm, at the thought of Tianling's affected, overly demure manner, Gu Chen couldn't help but shudder. But he didn't feel familiar at all. He was actually the one who had taught her those ways to attract a crush, but since he didn't want her to leave a good impression on her crush, he told her to act like the demure, prim and proper, overly girly type. It turned out that the reason Tianling was called back to the company was that no one else could draw the game characters for the project that was about to be released. When she came back, the team leader, who had always been dissatisfied with her, suddenly became friendly and started small talk. Facing someone like that, Tianling no longer had any reason to be polite. Although she worked day and night, she still couldn't gain her boss's approval. He said they couldn't feel real emotions in the characters she drew. However, since the game's release time was close to the Lunar New Year, Tianling still had to finish her work. Feeling no inspiration at all, Tianling decided to ask her good friend in the game what male students usually do during the New Year. Meanwhile, Gu Chen misunderstood that Tianling wanted to ask him to meet during the New Year. When the conversation started to sound more and more unclear, Tianling quickly explained that she was only looking for ideas for her design. After that, when Gu Chen said he planned to feed stray cats and dogs during the New Year, Tianling suddenly felt inspired. She stayed up all night to finish her basic drawings. Thanks to that, the next day, Tianling received recognition from her boss. Finally, she could feel at ease about her work. During lunch break, Tianling chatted with her friends in the game about the progress between her and her crush. Hearing that, others in the group revealed that the school's hot boy had been showing a lot of interest in Tianling lately. To stop his teammates from exposing his feelings, Gu Chen quickly logged into their computers to control the information. That evening after work, Tianling happened to see a little puppy outside the company. The cute scene made her stop and watch, forgetting the way home. But when she saw Gu Chen walking toward her, she pretended to be afraid of the dog to get his attention. Unexpectedly, an accident suddenly happened. An electric bike rushed straight toward Tianling. Seeing the danger, Gu Chen immediately jumped in and pulled her out of the way. After being saved by him, Tianling couldn't help but feel her heart racing and felt shy. Her reaction made Gu Chen a little confused, because just a few minutes ago she was acting so scared of the dog, but now she seemed unusually calm. After the incident, Tianling asked to join Gu Chen's department, but she wasn't surprised when she was rejected. After all, in real life, Gu Chen's impression of Tianling was still that of a strange girl. That afternoon, when Gu Chen went out to eat with his friends, they teased him and asked if he liked the girl in the game whose nickname was Nuomi Xiao Ma Hua. He denied it and said he would never like a girl he had never met before. But right after the meal, he immediately sent a message to Nuomi Xiao Ma Hua. Seeing that, his friend couldn't help but laugh. Although Gu Chen and Tianling lived very close to each other, neither of them knew the other's nickname in the game. At that time, the friend invited Tianling to sit and eat together, but Gu Chen stepped on his foot to stop him from saying anything unnecessary. However, the friend suddenly got an urgent call and had to leave, leaving the two in an awkward atmosphere. Wanting to find more topics to talk about with her crush, Tianling tried to start a conversation with Gu Chen, but he stayed cold and rejected every topic she brought up. That night, when Tianling went home, she looked up at the sky and suddenly saw two stars shining next to the moon. She thought the scene was very romantic, so she shared it with her close friend in the game. Unexpectedly, after reading the message, Gu Chen suddenly became excited. He rushed outside and texted her asking if Tianling was also in Zhang City. Seeing that message, Tianling instinctively looked around for a friend from the game, but the only person she saw was Gu Chen. At that moment, she almost believed that her online friend was him. However, the next message from the other side broke that illusion. Because they didn't make things clear, the two once again missed the chance to recognize each other. That night in the game world, when Tianling said she wanted to meet her crush, Gu Chen panicked. To ruin the growing relationship between them, he quickly gave her some terrible advice. Not realizing he was destroying his own feelings, Tianling even went online to study love lessons. When Tianling met Gu Chen again, she remembered what her good friend in the game had said, that a girl should act weak to awaken her crush's desire to protect her. So Tianling pretended to need Gu Chen's help to get a pot, but he just said she should carry her own pot. Hearing that, Tianling didn't give up and continued to practice the lion dance with Gu Chen until she accidentally twisted her ankle. She planned to ask Gu Chen to help her up, but he stepped away, making her fall into a basin nearby. That scared Gu Chen, but he quickly used his body to stop her from falling, and they accidentally shared a close hug. Seeing Gu Chen rubbing his shoulder, Tianling told him to see a doctor, but he mocked her back, saying she should check her brain instead. Although Tianling spoke sharply and loved foolishly, she didn't take it to heart. After returning to the company, Tianling received praise from her boss. It turned out that the character she had drawn before had been published and got good reviews. At the same time, Guchin's roommate Junnan pretended to be pitiful and made Guchin agree to let him find an assistant to reduce his stress. After finding one, he felt relaxed and dragged Guchin to a bar to drink. But there, Guchin saw his rival. When Junnan said the rival had just left and mentioned remote interaction, Guchin immediately felt something was off. The next day, during the company presentation, when he heard the rival also talk about remote interaction, Guchin realized the problem. However, he did not panic and said that his team had also thought about remote interaction before, but found its weaknesses and upgraded it directly. It turned out that this idea came from something Tianling had casually said in the game world. After that, the boss announced that Guchin's team project was approved. He even specially thanked Tianling. Since the project was approved, their workplace was moved from the warehouse to the seat next to Tianling. That evening, when Tianling was eating with her coworkers, she happened to meet Guchin. Because they knew each other, both teams decided to have dinner together. Guchin even sat right next to Tianling, which made her feel nervous. Later, when both of them saw messages from the game group, they started replying almost at the same time. However, Guchin quickly noticed something strange from Nuomi Xiaomahua's message. He began to suspect that Tianling was actually Nuomi Xiaomahua in the game. To confirm his guess, Guchin secretly tried to test her. When he saw that Nuomi Xiaomahua said in the game that she could drink 1,000 glasses without getting drunk, he unconsciously looked toward Tianling. At that moment, to keep her gentle image, Tianling refused her coworker's invitation to drink and said she only drank juice. This made her coworkers think she had a low alcohol tolerance, while Tianling herself felt awkward. Guchin continued to test her by asking if she played games. When he heard Tianling say that everyone working in a game company played games, he felt disappointed because it wasn't the clear answer he wanted. Therefore, Guchin stood up and left. Unexpectedly, Tianling also quickly followed him. She used the excuse that it was late and asked to get a ride home with Guchin. Seeing that she was a classmate and it was dark outside, Guchin agreed to take her home. However, on the way, Tianling once again acted weak and gentle to leave a good impression. After returning to the dorm, Tianling couldn't help but tell Huang that Guchin had taken her home. Huang teased her, saying that her relationship with him had made great progress this time, even joking about when they would get married. But that joke didn't make Tianling happy. She felt that everything was getting worse. At the same time, Guchin's best friend also came to Zhangzheng. He started talking about Guchin and Nuomi Xiaomahua. During their conversation, he guessed that Guchin probably didn't know how to date girls and even said directly that if Guchin didn't know, he could teach him. Seeing his friend's smug face, Guchin told him to call his wife and say that someone had come to Zhangzheng to do bad things, which finally made his friend stay quiet. After dealing with that, Guchin finally gathered his courage and invited Nuomi Xiaomahua to team up and celebrate the new year in the game group. However, she refused his invitation. After being rejected, Guchin became gloomy. He no longer felt like eating or talking. That night, when both of them went out to celebrate the new year, Tianling took many beautiful photos. Unexpectedly, her roommate noticed Guchin's figure in one of them. At the same time, Tianling also took a few photos of the New Year fireworks and sent them to her game friends group. When Guchin saw that she was at the same place as him, he became excited and hurriedly ran into the crowd to look for Nuomi Xiaomahua. Both of them walked toward each other. However, because there were too many people, they once again missed the chance to meet. In the end, they could only silently wish each other well. Because the girl he liked loved cilantro, the boy decided to try the food he had always hated. Seeing this, Junnan was very confused. He watched Guchin take only a few bites before spitting it out and frantically drinking water to save his taste buds. At the same time, when Tianling saw that Guchin also liked cilantro, she began to imagine that they would never argue about food in the future. After entering the restaurant, Tianling still thought Guchin was looking at her, but actually, he was just looking at the image of cilantro displayed on the screen above her head. Not realizing that, Tianling kept staring at Guchin with admiration. It made Junnan beside her notice the sincerity in her eyes. When Guchin was about to leave, Huang quickly told Tianling to act fast, since the two still hadn't exchanged WeChat contacts. Just then, Huang noticed that Guchin had dropped his student ID and suggested Tianling use that as an excuse to approach him. So, Tianling immediately grabbed the card and ran after Guchin through several streets. When he saw the student ID in her hand, Guchin looked suspicious because the card looked too cute. That made Junnan tease Tianling, saying he could take this chance to ask for her WeChat. At that moment, Tianling was overjoyed to see Guchin take out his phone. However, she only heard him say thank you to the delivery man. That sentence instantly shattered all of Tianling's illusions. Just a second later, another student walked over. It turned out that the student ID actually belonged to that student who had dropped it earlier. Everything was just a big misunderstanding. Realizing this, Tianling angrily went back to her dorm, blaming her bad luck on the cilantro she hated. Luckily, with Huang's timely comfort, Tianling finally calmed down. At first, everyone thought Tianling would go back to being herself, but just a moment later, she asked Huang if it was possible that Gu Qin really liked her true self. Seeing her friend fall into blind love again, Huang felt that Tianling was hopeless. She could only let Tianling keep dreaming that Gu Qin had feelings for her. The next day, when Tianling saw Gu Qin's back while he was working at the company, she immediately took many photos with him in the same frame. However, she didn't know that Gu Qin had already noticed all her little actions long ago. After work, Tianling accidentally met her former boss, who was now working under Gu Qin. Appreciating her ability, the old boss invited Tianling to join planning department No. 9 so she could have the chance to work with Gu Qin. From then on, Tianling started working very hard. However, no matter how hard she tried, she still couldn't find creative inspiration. Seeing that Tianling had made no progress, Gu Qin coldly scolded her. He said that tomorrow was the final deadline, and if she couldn't finish, it would be considered a failure. Hearing Gu Qin's harsh tone, Junnan, who was standing nearby, couldn't hold back and spoke up to scold him. However, his words couldn't change Tianling's mood. When Tianling found out that Gu Qin already had a girlfriend, her heart completely broke. On the way back, she saw couples walking together, and in her eyes, all of them turned into the image of Gu Qin and his girlfriend. In the end, Tianling blankly returned to the dorm. At that moment, she couldn't even hear clearly what Huang was saying. Her tears fell silently without words. From then on, Tianling no longer had any hope for Gu Qin. Every day she kept herself busy, either preparing her graduation thesis or trying to finish her work, until one day, her coworker suddenly announced that the company planned to hold a team-building event and said that everyone could bring their family members. Hearing that, Tianling immediately thought that Gu Qin would definitely bring his girlfriend along. Not wanting to hurt herself, she quickly made an excuse that she needed to work on her thesis to refuse joining. However, her coworker insisted that everyone must attend. It turned out that their superior highly valued team spirit, and anyone who didn't join might receive a negative evaluation or even affect their job. In that situation, Tianling had no choice but to grit her teeth and agree. When the team-building event took place during the meal, Tianling treated the food as if it were her enemy. Seeing her silent expression, Junnan, Gu Qin's roommate, quickly noticed that she had something on her mind. But Tianling kept denying it. Not giving up, Junnan asked again, wanting to know why Gu Qin didn't bring his girlfriend to the event. When Junnan quickly denied the rumor and said that Gu Qin was still single, Tianling felt as if she had come back to life. Feeling grateful for Junnan's words, Tianling hurriedly picked a lot of food for him, making him pause in surprise. Right after that, Junnan mentioned that there would be a masquerade ball later and curiously asked Tianling what character she planned to dress up as. Hearing that, she asked back what character Gu Qin would play at the ball. When Junnan replied that Gu Qin would dress as a man wearing a golden mask, Tianling immediately remembered it. When she entered the ball, Tianling kept searching for the man with the golden mask in the crowd. When her eyes stopped on someone who looked very much like Gu Qin, she felt a bit confused. While she was still uncertain, another man wearing a golden mask suddenly came closer. Before she could tell who was who, the MC announced the start of the game. During all the rounds of the Squid Game, the final winners were Tianling and the man with the golden mask. To make the atmosphere more exciting, the other colleagues began to cheer, asking the two winners to kiss each other. Luckily, the MC quickly noticed Tianling's shyness and smartly changed the kiss into a nose touch instead. Right after that, to clear all doubts, everyone took off their masks. But when Tianling looked up with great expectation, she was completely shocked. It turned out that the man wearing the golden mask was not Gu Qin. A short time before, when the two men accidentally met in the restroom, one of the male colleagues had said that Gu Qin's golden mask suited the other man's outfit better, so they had exchanged masks. That was why, when the co-workers began cheering and asking the two people on stage to interact, Gu Qin, who was standing in the audience, saw Tianling's embarrassment and quickly rushed up to help her out. However, when everyone thought that Gu Qin would touch noses with Tianling, he suddenly turned and touched noses with that male colleague instead. The whole hall was stunned, while Tianling laughed so hard she couldn't breathe. After returning to her room, Tianling screamed loudly because she was so happy. At that moment, she heard a coworker say that the members of Project Department No. 9 were all drunk. Hearing that, Tianling became worried about Gu Qin and immediately ran out to find. When she arrived, she saw a drunk male colleague harshly, trying to confess his love to her. Just then, Gu Qin suddenly appeared and pushed the man to the ground. For a moment, Tianling misunderstood. She thought that he was about to confess his feelings to her, but in the end, Gu Qin collapsed right in front of her. Looking at his face so close to hers, Tianling's playful side came out. She bent down slightly, wanting to give him a light kiss on the lips, but then she was startled and pulled back. After calming herself down, she decided to hand Gu Qin over safely to Junnan, his roommate. However, when Gu Qin woke up the next morning, he had completely forgotten everything that happened the night before. Not long after that, the company suddenly had a power outage, which caused Tianling to send her design work late. Because of that, Gu Qin rejected her draft. Even though Tianling explained the reason clearly, she was still firmly refused because she had missed the deadline. To vent her anger, Tianling dragged her roommate Huang to the game hall to play some games. Unfortunately, after a few rounds, she kept losing. Unexpectedly, at that moment, she ran into Gu Qin. When he said that she wasn't bad at playing games, Tianling immediately replied sarcastically that it was only because she hadn't played seriously yet. However, Gu Qin interrupted and said that he already knew both of them were not playing seriously. His words made Tianling angry. However, thanks to Junnan's timely persuasion, she calmed down and stopped arguing. Seeing her fiery yet sincere attitude, Junnan felt that Tianling was very much like Nuomi Xiaomahua. That night, when Tianling continued playing the game with her close friend, she couldn't help but complain about everything that had happened. Hearing Nuomi Xiaomahua speak, Gu Qin suddenly remembered the things Tianling had said before. He then began to suspect whether the two might actually be the same person. To let Nuomi Xiaomahua release her frustration, Gu Qin deliberately went easy on her and didn't shoot her during the match. After noticing her teammate's strange behavior, Tianling couldn't help but feel curious. She asked Huang whether a good friend in the game acting weird like that might mean he liked her. However, after hearing Huang's answer, Tianling still didn't believe it. She thought that since he had already seen her sharp and bold side, that possibility was almost impossible. The next day, when Tianling happened to see Gu Qin, she deliberately ignored him. In the end, Gu Qin took the initiative to apologize and admit the value of her work, which slowly eased the tension between them. Although Tianling said she wouldn't forgive him, she actually felt much better inside. That evening, when the two played together in the game, Gu Qin noticed that Nuomi Xiaomahua seemed to be in a good mood. He thought maybe she was now together with the person she liked. Luckily, Nuomi Xiaomahua denied it. However, to tease her, Gu Qin said that if she liked someone, she should boldly confess. After hearing that advice from her close friend in the game, Nuomi Xiaomahua began to think a lot. At the same time, Junnan also felt confused about Gu Qin's strange behavior. Later, when Tianling saw someone successfully confessing their love on the school playground, she took it as motivation. So when she saw Gu Qin, she decided to confess her feelings to him. However, on the way, Tianling happened to meet another girl who was also chasing after Gu Qin. When the girl asked about the type of girl he liked, Tianling quickly made something up. As a result, she managed to scare her love rival away. At the same time, Gu Qin found out that Nuomi Xiaomahua was playing a duo game with another person. He immediately thought that she wanted to confess to her crush, but he didn't know that the one playing the game at that time was actually Tianling's younger sister. It turned out that Tianling's sister had borrowed her account because she wanted to confess to her own crush. Just when Gu Qin was feeling very sad because of the misunderstanding, Tianling gathered all her courage and confessed to him. Gu Qin coldly rejected her in front of all the teachers and students. Tianling was completely heartbroken when she faced that cruel rejection. After that, she stood in the heavy rain, looking lost and empty. When she returned to the dorm, she saw the painting she had once drawn of Gu Qin. At that moment, all the memories of being with him came back. Some happy, some sad. Everything had once been so beautiful, yet the harsh reality made her feel deeply hurt. After thinking for a long time, Tianling couldn't hold back her tears anymore and cried uncontrollably. Even when she played the game, she became more impatient and easily irritated than usual. The scary thing was that in her anger, Nuomi Xiaomahua took out a grenade and was about to blow up her teammates. Fortunately, Junnan stopped her just in time. However, his interference accidentally made her feel even more upset. Seeing that Nuomi Xiaomahua looked hurt, Gu Qin couldn't help but step forward. At first, he thought Junnan was teasing her. Then, when he heard that she had failed in her confession, Junnan was confused. After all, Nuomi Xiaomahua was the school beauty. Who would ever reject her? But when Gu Qin heard the whole story about her failed confession, he couldn't help but laugh. He felt like he had another chance. To celebrate, he invited everyone to go eat together. However, to keep Nuomi Xiaomahua from noticing anything strange about his attitude, his friends even joked that they would help her get revenge. Unexpectedly, just one sentence from Nuomi Xiaomahua shocked everyone. She said they should find a man named Gu Qin and eliminate him him for her. Hearing his own name, Gu Qin froze on the spot. Then he quickly asked Nuomi Xiaomahua if she hadn't played a duo game with someone else that morning. When Gu Qin asked, the rest of the team also got curious. Nuomi Xiaomahua honestly said that she had lent her game account to her cousin that morning. Her cousin had successfully confessed to the person she liked, while she herself had failed miserably. This situation made everyone realize that it had all been a big misunderstanding. After knowing the whole truth, Gu Qin immediately felt very hopeless. Seeing him suddenly kneel down in front of her, Nuomi Xiaomahua asked why he looked like he was trying to make up for something. After that, Nuomi Xiaomahua quietly wished her crush happiness with someone else. Gu Qin suddenly felt like he had been hit by 3 arrows in a row, so he started thinking about whether he should tell Nuomi Xiaomahua the whole truth or not. After being rejected by Gu Qin, Tianling became listless. She no longer wore makeup to work and didn't care about the stories of handsome guys that her coworkers often talked about. At the same time, after knowing the whole truth, Gu Qin also went to work looking like he had nothing left to live for. But when he accidentally saw Tianling's figure, his heart suddenly came alive again. Wanting to reveal his true identity, he carefully followed her. However, since Tianling was still hurt, she didn't want to see him again. She directly said that they were only colleagues in the company and strangers after work. Even though she rejected him, Gu Qin refused to give up. He chased after her to the cafeteria, hoping to explain everything. But when Tianling saw that Gu Qin couldn't eat spicy food, she noticed his discomfort. Wanting to get back at him, she purposely gave him a piece of spicy pork intestine. Gu Qin tried to eat it, but in the end, it was too spicy to handle. He quickly asked his coworker to bring him a bottle of water. However, just as he was about to explain everything, Tianling coldly cut him off. At that moment, seeing Gu Qin being treated unfairly, Junnan couldn't help but comment that Tianling, who looked so gentle, turned out to be quite fierce in real life. No one expected that this girl was actually Nuomi Xiaomahua, the one Gu Qin had secretly liked all along. Later, Tianling looked displeased again and complained about Gu Qin to her best friend in the game. Meanwhile, Gu Qin's friends, who already knew he was the school's famous hot boy, began gossiping about his personal matters. Worried that they might say bad things about him, Gu Qin quickly stopped them from continuing the discussion. Unfortunately, he still couldn't escape Tianling's curse. Clearly, the road for Gu Qin to pursue his future wife was still very long. However, fate cannot be avoided once it arrives. A few days later, Tianling went with her coworker to meet her coworker's boyfriend, whom she had met online. When they arrived, they found out that the man had deceived her coworker with fake photos and even arrogantly mocked her. Unable to stand his attitude, Tianling got angry and scolded him harshly. Hearing Tianling's sharp words, Gu Qin, who happened to witness the scene, couldn't help but think of himself, especially when he saw that she was still cold toward him. He couldn't stand it anymore. Finally, he went to find her and honestly admitted that he was the school's hot boy. But Tianling didn't believe him. She thought Gu Qin was just bragging about his looks. Not wanting to listen further, she interrupted him and said clearly that from now on, they were just colleagues and didn't need to greet each other outside of work. Even though he was rejected, Gu Qin refused to give up. That night, he went to find Nuomi Xiaomahua in the game to keep talking. However, just as Gu Qin was about to tell her the truth, Tianling received an urgent phone call. Unfortunately, she accidentally sent a message to their friends' group chat. Immediately, Gu Qin's friends showed up to gossip. His confession was interrupted once again in a very awkward way. Unexpectedly, that same night, they happened to meet each other again. At that time, Gu Qin was in a bad mood because he had just spilled a box of goods, and he was stunned when he saw Tianling peer in front of him. That scene made Tianling even angrier. When Gu Qin tried to help her clean up, Tianling's reaction was very cold. In response to his kindness, she slammed the door hard, leaving him standing alone outside. Just a moment ago, Gu Qin still looked sad and frustrated, but when he saw Tianling's luggage, he immediately became as happy as a blooming flower. He wanted to knock on the door again, but ended up calling his friend for help instead. As a result, the friend who knocked almost sacrificed himself because of Tianling's anger. Later, when they saw a delivery person bring sheep stomach to Tianling, Junnan suddenly came up with a new idea. Right after that, he and Gu Qin prepared all the necessary tools and decided to cook a dish using the sheep stomach. Although the smell was quite unpleasant, thanks to Gu Qin's effort and their impatience, they finally finished cooking successfully. Junnan even said that the taste was not bad at all. However, they accidentally caused a big misunderstanding. It turned out that Tianling ordered the sheep's stomach not to cook, but to feed the stray dogs. She never expected her action would make others misunderstand her. When Gu Qin found out the sheep's stomach hadn't been cleaned properly, he couldn't help but feel nauseous. Seeing Gu Qin's reaction, Tianling thought he was looking down on her. As expected, just like before, things ended unhappily between them again. Although Tianling kept saying she had let go of Gu Qin, deep inside, she still couldn't erase his image from from her heart. As for Gu Qian, he accidentally discovered that Tianling was actually the blogger Sleep Until I Wake Up, the one he had secretly admired for a long time. As for Tianling, she once used the game account name Sleep Until I Wake Up, but to avoid running into Gu Qian, she planned to change it. Unexpectedly, right at that moment, he suddenly sent her a work collaboration invitation, which made Tianling very shocked. It turned out that not long ago, the project Gu Qian was in charge of had its original design leak. Although he tried his best to fix the problem and reduce the loss, after the leak, the original artist couldn't make a new design that satisfied him. To keep the project going smoothly, Gu Qian had to find a new talented artist. Junan searched online for a while and finally found a draft that made Gu Qian very satisfied. He even let Gu Qian contact the artist himself. At the same time, Tianling received a work invitation from Gu Qian. When they met, Tianling's phone accidentally fell to the ground during their talk. Gu Qian thought he would find out the truth at that moment, but right then, Tianling's phone ran out of battery. Before Gu Qian could apologize, Tianling quickly left. Later, when Gu Qian looked at the account name, Sleep Until I Wake Up, he couldn't help but feel that it sounded very familiar. That night, when Tianling complained to her friend in the game that her air conditioner remote was broken, Gu Qian took the chance to start asking questions and tried to get close to her. However, his wish to meet Tianling still didn't come true. When Gu Qian saw Tianling step outside to get some fresh air, immediately switched to invisible mode and quietly watched her. But just a second after telling her friend in the game that a calm mind will naturally bring coolness, Tianling reached into the fridge to feel some cold air. It wasn't until she heard a knock on the door that she finally pulled herself out of the fridge. She looked through the peephole and saw that the person outside was Gu Qian, which immediately made her lose interest. She planned to turn off the lights and pretend she wasn't home. However, Gu Qian's voice came from outside the door, making her freeze. He said that he had already heard some noise. It turned out that Gu Qian had come to help her fix the air conditioner. After Tianling reluctantly opened the door, Gu Qian pulled the landlady outside so he could work more easily. Once inside, he started checking and operating the air conditioner on his own. But what should have been done with just one press of a button on the remote was dragged out by Qian as if he were performing a play. The more Tianling watched, the angrier she became. Before he could say anything, she coldly told him to leave. Standing at the door, Gu Qian wanted to send her a message to explain, but then he saw that she was already complaining about him to her friend in the game. When Gu Qian got home, he still looked unusually cheerful. Seeing his expression, Junan thought that the two of them had already made up. However, before Gu Qian could say a word, he received a phone call that changed everything. He had just found out the true identity of Sleep Until I Wake Up. Not long before that, in order for Tianling to join Project Department No. 9, Gu Qian had put in a lot of effort. At first, Tianling had flatly rejected his offer. Later, she even told her roommate how firmly she had refused Gu Qian, saying she was even more decisive than when he had once turned down her confession. Everyone thought the two of them would not see each other again for a while, but fate once again brought them face to face at a delivery shop. When Gu Qian saw Tianling trying to push a big box, Gu Qian took the initiative to offer help. As expected, she coldly refused him again. Even so, he quietly followed her to make sure she was safe along the way. Unfortunately, an older woman misunderstood their situation and made some sarcastic comments. To leave a good impression on Tianling, Gu Qian quickly said that he was helping her build a shelter for stray dogs. His words really made Tianling smile a little. However, when he looked at the design drawing, Gu Qian realized it was not a foldable type of cage as he had thought. With no other choice, he bent down and started assembling it seriously. That night, when Tianling saw him still working in the yard, she couldn't help but feel sorry for him, especially when it started to rain. She took an umbrella and planned to go out to find him, but sadly, Gu Qian had already left. In fact, he had only gone to get a flashlight. Tianling was about to go back inside, but when she saw Gu Qian still trying to build the dog shelter in the rain without an umbrella, her heart softened. Finally, she walked over and held the umbrella above him. At that moment, Gu Qian felt a warm joy in his heart, because the person standing beside him was the one he truly loved. Because of that, he worked even harder, almost forgetting his tiredness. After that, the atmosphere between them slowly became gentle. Feeling the change, Gu Qian bravely invited Tianling to join Project Department No. 9. However, he did not receive any positive response. Tianling only left a cold sentence that he should dream on. Then she immediately left. From that moment on, Gu Qian was completely lost in love, to the point that he could no longer see any flaws in that girl. As for Tianling, she actually still wanted to stay away from him, so she deliberately asked her close friend in the game whether she should agree to Gu Qian's invitation to work together or not. However, she did not know that the person she was asking for advice was actually him. When Gu Qian heard Tianling say that she liked someone with 3 letters A, he immediately realized that person was himself. himself. At that moment, the joy in his heart burst out, making him laugh non-stop because he was too happy. Gu Qin gently advised her that no matter how many times she failed, each failure was a chance to learn, and she should not carry too much burden in her heart. Although Tianling had started to waver and secretly made a decision, she still could not overcome the knot in her heart. Later, one day, when she got angry because her food delivery was missing, Gu Qin suggested that he would go with her to the security office to check the camera. Before leaving, Tianling still spoke bitterly, making the atmosphere between them even heavier. When they arrived at the residential security office, the guard asked if the missing item was valuable. Tianling immediately replied that it was very precious because there were only 10,000 portions of it in the whole country. Hearing that, the guard was so frightened that he stammered and advised her to call the police right away. At that moment, Gu Qin quickly calmed everyone down, saying that he knew some lawyers who could help her solve the problem. However, when the security footage was played, everyone was shocked. In the video, the person who took Tianling's food delivery was actually Gu Qin himself, and that food was fried chicken, the very thing he had eaten not long ago. After that, the delivery man came and confirmed that the orders of the two had been sent to the wrong area, completely proving that Gu Qin had become an unintentional thief. At that moment, Gu Qin felt a grievance he could not explain. He had to lower his head and dig through the trash can to find the bonus gift. But no matter how hard he searched, he could not find it. Seeing that Tianling seemed to really like that gift, Gu Qin half-jokingly asked whether, if he could collect all those gifts, Tianling would agree to work in project department. No. 9. On the surface, Tianling appeared to agree with Gu Qin's suggestion, but in fact, deep down, she still did not truly trust him. So, to prove his sincerity, Gu Qin boldly ordered more than 100 portions of fried chicken just to collect all the bonus gifts that Tianling liked. That action made Junnan laugh at him. However, because of his curiosity, Junnan still followed every event closely. Meanwhile, Gu Qin patiently collected each small toy. He did it not only to invite Tianling to work in project department, No. 9, but also for a deeper reason. He wanted her to always stay by his side. The true reason for that, perhaps only Gu Qin understood in his heart. However, while pursuing his feelings, Gu Qin unintentionally neglected his friends. When he saw Junnan trying to eat that huge amount of fried chicken until he almost wanted to throw up, Gu Qin couldn't help but feel guilty and sympathetic. So when they really couldn't eat anymore, he gave the fried chicken to the cleaning lady in the area. After some time, when Tianling saw that all the bonus gifts had been collected, even though she said she was unhappy, deep inside she clearly felt touched. In the end, she finally made up her mind to join project department, No. 9. However, when she submitted her transfer request, her direct supervisor refused to approve it. Even though Tianling tried every possible reason to persuade her supervisor, he still firmly rejected it. So she began a long battle. At first, she sent messages, then she suddenly showed up to persuade him in person. Whenever her supervisor had free time, Tianling would definitely appear to talk to him. She even waited in the hallway just for a chance to meet him. Finally, Tianling's efforts were rewarded. Her supervisor agreed to let her temporarily assist in project department, No. 9. However, Tianling had no idea that the real reason her supervisor agreed was because Gu Qin had secretly made a deal with boss Xiang to help her get the transfer. When Gu Qin opened his game account to work, Tianling excitedly ran over to watch. At that moment, when she felt thirsty and was about to turn around to get some water, Gu Qin hurriedly called her to stop. It turned out that his game interface had not been completely closed, and if she saw it, she might discover his true identity. To avoid being exposed, Gu Qin quickly handed her a bottle of water, making her forget her original intention. Thinking that everything had been handled smoothly, Gu Qin did not expect Tianling to suddenly want to eat snacks. At that moment, he had no choice but to lean toward her to block the screen. Tianling was startled when he suddenly pressed her against the wall, and her heart instantly became tense. Just when the atmosphere between them grew intense, Junnan suddenly appeared and broke the moment. As soon as he saw the scene before him, he quickly joked that he was just air. Tianling blushed, embarrassed and confused. She could only quickly turn around and run away. Seeing this, Junnan couldn't help but shake his head and blame Gu Qin. He said in a half-teasing, half-serious tone that with Tianling's personality, she was not suited to this kind of romance. This action might not have bothered Gu Qin, but it made Tianling have nightmares all night. In that dream, Tianling was the one who turned around and pressed Gu Qin against the wall, forcing her to admit that she really loved him when she woke up. At the same time, after being criticized by Junnan for not adding Tianling as friends on WeChat, Gu Qin felt guilty and decided to take action. He hurriedly ran to the canteen to find her. However, when Gu Qin had just mustered up the courage to approach, Tianling was so nervous that she made an excuse to go buy a drink to avoid him. Because she was in a mess, unless she accidentally spilled water on him. Tianling was panicked and could only divert attention by saying that she would pay for it, but Gu Qin refused. She still stubbornly asked him to give her the QR code to transfer the money, and when Gu Qin was about to refuse, he suddenly had an idea. He took out his WeChat and let her scan the code herself. After scanning, Tianling discovered that it was Gu Qin's WeChat account. Tianling suddenly remembered the scene where she had been refused to add her WeChat account before. When she saw that his friend's circle only showed the last 3 days, she couldn't help but scold him for being mysterious, but she was extremely happy in her heart. The next morning, Tianling received a notification that she could come and get her driver's license, so she hurried back to her hometown. As soon as she stepped out of the bus station, her childhood friend drove to pick her up. On the way, he laughed and casually said that his family was urging him to get married, then asked if Tianling had a boyfriend. When he heard this question and his friend's scrutinizing gaze, Tianling couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Elsewhere, Gu Qin was stunned when he received this news. He suddenly realized that he didn't even have a status title yet, and now a rival in love had already appeared. When he saw Tianling return, Gu Qin immediately left Junnan behind and ran to her. Although Tianling still maintained a cold and indifferent attitude when facing him, Gu Qin was extremely enthusiastic. He took the initiative to help her carry her things and even asked why she didn't stay in the countryside for a few more days. This made Tianling feel confused. However, because Gu Qin was smart and quick to react, he easily found tactful words to make her temporarily believe him and let it go. Even so, Tianling still didn't like him very much. When she tried to get her things back, she almost slipped and fell. This unexpected close contact made both of them stunned for a moment. Gu Qin's series of natural actions and reactions made Tianling feel confused. As soon as she sat down, she took out her driver's license to keep a memory of this special day, and also deliberately posted a post on her friend circle. Not long after, Gu Qin immediately clicked like. This unusual action immediately attracted Tianling's attention. When she clicked on his personal page, she was surprised to find that all the posts in his friend circle were displayed publicly. That moment made Tianling misunderstand that Gu Qin had someone he liked, so he opened his friend circle to public. Out of anger, she also immediately adjusted the visibility of her friend circle to only the last 3 days. When Gu Qin saw that Tianling's friend circle had only been visible for 3 days, he was immediately confused. He didn't know what to do other than sigh and blame himself for being so stupid. After that, when he returned to the company, Tianling became busier and busier. Not only did she have to prepare work for the first project department, but she also had to take on the 9th project department. Once, the 2 departments held meetings at almost the same time, so she could only pretend to have low blood pressure and leave. However, at that moment, her direct superior called her back. Seeing that Tianling looked tired, the superior thought that she wouldn't be able to come and support the 9th department today, so he was secretly happy for a moment. But soon after, when he heard her say that she could still hold on, his expression became displeased. After all, Tianling and Gu Qin's direct superiors were originally 2 people from 2 competing departments. At the same time, the people in Gu Qin's department, seeing that Tianling had not arrived for a long time, also began to show resentment. After a while of rushing, Tianling finally ran to the meeting room. However, even though she had arrived, she still had to endure the gossiping looks and words from her colleagues. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, Gu Qin was forced to quickly start the meeting and preside over it to ease the atmosphere. Immediately after, Gu Qin introduced that Tianling's transfer to project department number 9 was part of a plan he managed. Unexpectedly, the team leader immediately showed an attitude of making things difficult for her. Because Tianling was in charge of designing the character Lin Ji in the game, the team leader asked her to express her thoughts and understanding of this character. As soon as she finished her presentation, everyone in the room burst into laughter, causing the atmosphere to become cold. Facing her colleagues' indifference and public denial, Tianling became even more embarrassed. At that moment, Junnan promptly spoke up in agreement with her idea, which helped to ease the atmosphere somewhat. However, right after the meeting, Tianling was called aside by the team leader and severely scolded. Seeing this, Gu Qin couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Although he had previously affirmed that he would protect her, a moment later, in the next meeting, he bluntly pointed out the problem with the design she was in charge of. The team leader took the opportunity to be even more harsh, bluntly criticizing the character Lin Ji that Tianling had just drawn, causing her to fall into a state of tension and deep hurt. In the silence of everyone, Gu Qin still did not stand up to defend Tianling, causing Junnan to be disappointed and blame him for hurting her. From that day on, Tianling became quieter, her drawings were rejected, making her feel as depressed as a wilted flower. Although she kept editing and improving, she seemed unable to find any new inspiration. Seeing her like this, Xindi, a close colleague, immediately wanted to help her relieve her stress. She took the initiative to start sewing and sewing to attract Tianling's attention. In just a few minutes, Xindi had completed an exquisite little doll. Tianling couldn't help but praise her. But after praising Xindi, Tianling suddenly remembered the similar toy she had bought when she first started working, causing a warm smile to appear on her lips. Seeing Tianling happy, Xindi also smiled brightly and encouraged her to continue working hard to complete the drawings to her satisfaction. From then on, Tianling started working overtime regularly. Seeing her working so hard, although Gu Qin really wanted to get close, he still restrained himself and did not bother her. However, every time he returned home, he would stand by the window and look at the apartment next door. When he realized that Tianling had not returned yet, Gu Qin patiently waited in the dark. While waiting, he accidentally damaged a red rose he was holding. When Tianling's figure appeared at the end of the hallway, Gu Qin was so moved that he was speechless. He threw the rose petals in his hand, creating a romantic rose rain. When he saw that her mood had improved, Gu Qin secretly cheered himself up. On this side, the superiors saw that Su Jiang wanted to work in the Project 9 department. In the end, the superiors agreed to the transfer, because after all, Su Jiang was not only his subordinate but also his former student. Since coming to the Project 9 department, Su Jiang had become a different person. He was full of motivation to work in the field he loved. At the same time, Tianling also began to notice something fishy between Xindi and Junnan. Seeing Tianling working overtime at the company and still not coming home, Gu Qin also started to long for his wife. In order to see her, he deliberately pretended to jog at night. As soon as he saw Gu Qin's figure, Tianling felt very confused but still did not say anything, because she wanted to save face. However, as soon as he returned home, Gu Qin continued to be the rock waiting for his wife. He wanted to know what Tianling was doing, so he texted her under the identity of a school hot boy. It turned out that he used the excuse of providing drawing ideas to deliberately send her a link, hoping that she would proactively suggest more. When Tianling opened the link, she saw the words "special thanks" and discovered that it contained Gu Qin's own award-winning work. When she saw his name, Tianling thought it was just a coincidence, because having the same name was very common after all. However, she felt that it was a bit special because the name Gu Qin was not very common. Later, when she heard others say a few words to defend Gu Qin, Tianling couldn't help but complain about whether the two of them were long-lost twins. Seeing that her suggestion was enough, Gu Qin didn't say anything more. As for Tianling, she continued to read the interview after Gu Qin won the award. When she heard him share that he used a few very useful books while making the game, she went online to find out more. However, the very next day, Tianling was scolded by the team leader. It turned out that the meeting schedules of Department 1 and Project 9 were overlapping. When she was late, the team leader did not listen to her explanation at all. Gu Qin stood by and watched. He also felt very uncomfortable seeing his beloved being made difficult like this. In order to help Tianling, Gu Qin deliberately postponed the meeting with the team leader. Thanks to that, Tianling and the team leader could quickly discuss the topic that needed to be discussed. After work, Tianling hurriedly went to find the books that Gu Qin had mentioned. However, after searching around, she still could not find them. Finally, when she had no other choice, she had to go find the manager to ask. Although she had found the location of the book she needed was placed on a very high shelf. In order to get the book, she deliberately brought a chair over. Unexpectedly, at that moment, Gu Qin quickly took the book in front of her. When Tianling saw the price tag of 799 yuan, she was stunned. At the same time, Gu Qin not only took that one, but also grabbed the last copy on the shelf. Seeing him act so boldly, Tianling couldn't help but snatch it back. However, because both of them were careless, they accidentally ended up hugging each other in a rather intimate position. Still, Tianling refused to give up. She tried to find the other two copies, but Gu Qin was faster and took them first. In fact, she didn't know that Gu Qin did all this just to save her money. He even made a condition, saying that if she agreed to drive for him, he would lend her those books. The story then continued in a funny scene as Tianling drove. She drove Gu Qin home, making him almost lose his mind. When he told her to try turning on the signal light, she accidentally turned on the windshield wipers instead. Seeing that, Gu Qin got scared and immediately told her to stop the car. As soon as the engine stopped, he just wanted to get out to save his life. But unexpectedly, Tianling pulled him back to sit down. After finishing all the preparations, Tianling finally started the car. However, Gu Qin was not in a good mood. During the whole trip, Tianling drove as slow as a turtle, making the driver behind them keep honking loudly. Seeing the situation, Gu Qin wanted to say something but stayed quiet. Right after After that, he saw Tianling roll down the window, which made him quickly grab the door handle tightly to protect his small life. But a few seconds later, her clumsy actions made Guqin so nervous that even his legs tensed up. In the end, because he loved her so much, Guqin could only stay silent and look at his phone to calm down. Even while watching videos, he was still searching for drawing inspiration for her, because recently Tianling hadn't had many ideas for her game characters. That night, Tianling tried her best to study the books she borrowed from Guqin. While taking pictures of important information, she happened to see Guqin post a post on his friend's circle. After reading it, she felt that he was secretly mocking her poor driving skills. The next day, when Tianling went to work, she deliberately brought a cup of coffee to Boss Wei. It turned out that she wanted to ask him for advice on the new character design draft she had just finished. After carefully examining it, Boss Wei praised her for her obvious progress. When he saw the character's weapon design, Boss Wei also gave some of his own opinions. He also mentioned that there would be a presentation by a professor who specialized in weapons research soon, but tickets to the presentation were very difficult to get. Hearing the news, Guqin immediately decided to go see the professor. It turned out that the professor was his old history teacher. The professor had previously advised him to take a history graduate course, but Guqin refused and chose the path of game development. Although the teacher felt disappointed at that time, he later forgave Guqin after seeing how skillfully he applied his historical knowledge to game design, especially when he heard Guqin say that he wanted to ask for a ticket to attend the presentation for his colleague to help that girl find inspiration for designing weapons in the game. The teacher was even happier and immediately agreed to his request. However, when Guqin was about to give the ticket to Tianling, Su Zheng, who had always had a secret crush on her, quickly grabbed the ticket for her first. Seeing this, Tianling immediately pulled Su Zheng into the hall. When he saw the two of them walking together, Guqin couldn't help but step forward to separate them. He immediately told the staff to take Tianling to the seat he had prepared for her. However, when he saw her turn around to thank Su Zheng, Guqin could only sigh because she had thanked the wrong person. At that moment, the professor saw the whole scene and seemed to realize that the girl was Guqin's girlfriend. But Guqin quickly denied it, saying that she was just a colleague. Even though he said so, the professor could still see his true feelings. When Guqin saw Tianling listening carefully and taking notes during the lecture, he couldn't help but feel happy for her. However, right after the lecture ended, it suddenly started raining heavily. Guqin offered to take her home. At first, Tianling nodded and agreed, but just then, Su Zheng appeared. He quickly came over and took Tianling away right in front of Guqin. But Guqin was not someone who would take a loss easily. To get back at Su Zheng, he deliberately assigned him a pile of work to finish. In fact, both Guqin and Tianling were the type to hold grudges, so it was no surprise that they matched each other so well. Later, Guqin invited Tianling to play a game to relax. However, since she caught a cold from the rain, she refused his invitation. Immediately, Guqin decided to buy cold medicine for her. He ran out into the heavy rain to find a pharmacy. When he reached the elevator, he happened to be seen by Tianling. Not wanting her to notice the cold medicine in his hand, Guqin quickly hid it, but Tianling had already noticed his strange behavior and stepped forward, wanting to see what he was hiding. When he realized he was about to be discovered, Guqin had no choice but to hug her to hide. The sudden hug made Tianling very embarrassed. Feeling too shy, she hurried home. But right after she arrived, she heard a knock on the door. It turned out that Guqin came with the excuse of borrowing a hairdryer. When Tianling handed him the dryer and was about to go back inside, he called her to stop. Then Guqin told her that she should come to his place to get some cold medicine so she wouldn't get worse. When Tianling stepped inside, Guqin kindly told her she didn't need to change her shoes and carefully explained how to take the medicine. While waiting, Tianling walked around his apartment and unexpectedly noticed some strange details. She realized that Guqin had just gone out to buy medicine. This discovery made Tianling suspicious because the only person who knew she had a cold was the campus hot boy, her close friend in the game. Thinking about that, Tianling felt like her fever made her silly, which was why she had such a strange thought. However, when she saw the shopping receipt on the table, she still wanted to confirm it. Right after that, she logged into the game and saw that the campus hot boy was online. To check, she called Guqin, pretending to ask about the medicine dosage to see if he was playing the game at the same time. When she heard his voice on the phone, there was no sound from the game, so she finally felt relieved that Guqin was not the campus hot boy. But what Tianling didn't know was that Guqin had lent his account to a friend. The next day, when Nuomi Xiaomahua said that Tianling's fever was almost gone, Guqin still looked worried. He advised her to take one more day off to recover. However, this action made Tianling start to doubt him. Meanwhile, Guqin was waiting for her at the company gate because he was still worried that she had not fully recovered. When she saw him buying breakfast for everyone, Tianling became even more certain of her suspicion. However, when she realized that her breakfast was not the one she wanted, she still could not let her guard down. Right after that, Tianling directly asked to add Gu Qin's game account so they could communicate easily. When she saw that the account he sent was not the campus hotboy, she finally felt relieved. She even teased him a few times. Those casual words made Gu Qin nervous because he knew that Tianling had accidentally added Junnan's secondary account. After arriving at the company, Tianling started to present her new character design. When the artwork was published again, everyone looked very pleased. Even the team leader, who usually opposed her, began to acknowledge her ability. However, at that moment, the boss of the partner company responsible for external effects started to notice Tianling. When she saw his overly friendly attitude and gaze, Tianling felt uncomfortable but could not say anything. Therefore, she could only pretend to cooperate and quickly finished taking the promotional photo with him. At the same time, Gu Qin was browsing online and happened to see a co-worker's post on the friends circle. When he saw that in the picture, Tianling was being held by another man, he immediately felt uneasy. Right after that, he quickly sent her a message using the campus hotboy account. However, when he saw Tianling replying to the message with repeatedly mistyped words because of her panic, Gu Qin became even more anxious. He even wanted to rush to the scene immediately. However, after thinking about it, he understood that if he appeared at this time, Tianling would definitely discover his true identity. In order to avoid being exposed, Gu Qin immediately sent a message to Junnan and called to ask who the man in the photo was. Through Junnan's story, he knew that the other party was a lecherous man who had always considered Tianling as his target, but at home he was a notorious henpecked husband. Later, to make the Halloween atmosphere more lively, Gu Qin decided to prepare a big gift. It must be said that because Gu Qin and Junnan were roommates, Junnan quickly understood his intentions. Meanwhile, on the other side, Tianling was so drunk that she could no longer walk steadily. When he realized that Tianling was drunk and off guard, Boss Ren immediately took action. Not only did he touch her all over, he also intended to take her somewhere else. Fortunately, Gu Qin arrived in time. He immediately gave Boss Ren a fatal blow, causing his glasses to fall off. He then quickly bent down to check Tianling's condition to make sure she was not harmed. Shortly after, Boss Ren's wife also rushed to the scene. When she saw her husband being beaten by Gu Qin, she grabbed his ear and scolded him mercilessly. In the face of such chaos, Gu Qin suggested calling the police to handle the matter. Meanwhile, Tianling was still in a daze, not understanding what was happening. After being taken to the police station to give her statement, she gradually sobered up. When she learned that Gu Qin was the one who had saved her, she immediately expressed her gratitude. However, after a short while, Tianling felt something was wrong. Therefore, she decided to question Gu Qin directly. When she saw him nod and admit everything, Tianling couldn't hold back her anger. She remembered how he had rejected her confession before, and now she found out that he had been playing with her like a fool. Too furious, she immediately turned around and walked away, not even letting him touch her. Although Gu Qin tried to apologize, Tianling still couldn't respond. She stayed silent and cold, but he still pulled her into the car. At that moment, Gu Qin looked like a scolded puppy, his tail drooping and his face full of grievance. Then Tianling demanded that Gu Qin tell her everything she didn't know. When she heard him confess that the account Dream of 900 Million Youths was actually Junnan's secondary account and that all the people who had played the game with her were Gu Qin's friends, Tianling became even angrier. She felt that she had been deceived and toyed with by a group of men all this time. Outraged, she got out of the car and walked away. Seeing Gu Qin trying to follow her, Tianling acted indifferent and didn't want to pay attention to him anymore. In desperation, Gu Qin also admitted that he had tried to tell her his true identity before, but Tianling hadn't believed him. When she recalled everything, Tianling finally understood it all. She was so angry that her eyes rolled back and she couldn't say a word. When she got home, she found that her express delivery package had also been thrown out by the landlord because of the recent incident. Meanwhile, to test Tianling's reaction, Gu Qin deliberately used his identity as the school's hotboy to text her. He wanted to see how she would respond now and whether she would block him or not. After that, Junnan called Gu Qin. When he saw the wound on his friend's neck, he felt very strange. Seeing the regretful look on Gu Qin's face, Junnan could only sigh softly and quickly hang up the call. At that moment, Gu Qin was still sitting in a daze when he suddenly got startled. It turned out that Tianling was right beside him, being scolded harshly by her. Gu Qin didn't know what to do except quietly walk to the window to look outside. When he no longer heard any sound, he thought she had fallen asleep and sighed in relief. But right after that, her loud shout calling his name made him turn around in shock. When he heard Tianling coldly say that she would never forgive him, Gu Qin felt helpless. He could only stay silent, wash his face, and go to bed tiredly. The next morning, when he saw Tianling pouring coffee but running out of beans, he went over to help her refill it. However, Tianling just glanced at him once and continued making coffee for herself. When he tried to smile at her, the only thing he got in return was a cold get lost. Even though she treated him so coldly, Gu Qin still didn't give up. When he saw Tianling buying sandwiches, but the store was sold out, he also carried a basket of food and let her pick whatever she liked. Even though she rejected him directly, he still followed her patiently. When Tianling saw a yellow lollipop and was about to buy it, Gu Qin appeared and said that the yellow one tasted pretty good. As soon as she heard his voice, Tianling didn't want to buy it anymore. She left immediately, leaving him standing there. Seeing her walk away, Gu Qin also carried 2 big bags of snacks back to the office. He said he bought them to treat everyone, but in fact, he purposely chose the flavors that Tianling liked. Just a second later, when Shindy said that all the food was bought by Gu Qin, Tianling immediately looked disgusted. She even spit out the piece of cake in her mouth. To get another chance to approach her, Gu Qin tried to add Tianling back on WeChat. He deliberately used work as an excuse, asking her to send the weekly report. He then took the opportunity to add her as a friend again. Tianling originally planned to pretend not to see it, but the situation at that time made it impossible for her to avoid. Therefore, she had to accept the friend request. When she saw the smiling emoji that Gu Qin sent right after, Tianling felt furious. At the same time, Gu Qin changed his account name just because he knew Tianling liked cilantro and had a strong taste. He changed it to Chili Spirit Who Loves Cilantro. However, every time he faced Tianling, all he got was her look of disdain, especially when Sujiang purposely asked Tianling out for a meal to provoke Gu Qin. She actually agreed, but Gu Qin was not someone who would easily be defeated. He quickly found a way to ruin their date with just one move. Right after that, when the stray dog that Tianling had adopted suddenly got into trouble, she immediately left Sujiang behind and ran to check. Seeing the dog's mouth still stained with red blood, Tianling finally spoke to Gu Qin. However, she still coldly said that she didn't need his help. She emphasized that at the company, they were just colleagues, and after work, they didn't exist in each other's worlds. Gu Qin knew exactly what to do to make Tianling soften her heart. That day, her roommate invited Tianling to return to school for the anniversary celebration. She was about to agree, but suddenly thought that Gu Qin might also attend, so she hesitated. As expected, Gu Qin actually returned to school. Tianling's roommate even saw his name on the list of outstanding alumni honored at the ceremony. At the same time, Gu Qin also received an invitation from his juniors to participate in a water polo match. He originally did not intend to participate, but when he saw Tianling's figure appear in the stands, he immediately changed his mind. The speed of the change of heart was so fast that even Jun Nan was surprised. Unfortunately, the two were on opposite teams. Because she thought that Huang on her team was not trustworthy, Tianling was forced to fight on her own. However, Gu Qin unexpectedly left his team to join hers. Although she deliberately kept her distance, he still maintained a cheerful and easygoing attitude, as if there had never been any problems. When the two teams started to compete, Gu Qin's true intentions were revealed. It turned out that he only participated in the match to shield her and prevent her from getting hurt. The moment she saw Gu Qin being hit in the head, Tianling said that she did not feel hurt, but her eyes and expression told it all. Huang, standing next to her, also realized that Tianling was starting to soften. In particular, Gu Qin's sincere apologies afterward made her waver even more. Although Tianling did not respond to his apology, when she returned to the company, she quietly reopened the photo that recorded the moment Gu Qin shielded her. Especially when her best friend in the game invited Tianling to play together, she initially pretended to be interested in Gu Qin, but in fact, she was still a bit hesitant. However, when Gu Qin gently said a few words to support her, she finally agreed to join. Gu Qin was silent at that time, but his eyes clearly revealed his thoughts. In the end, thanks to the unexpected coordination between the two, they even won and defeated their opponents in the match. Tianling felt very happy after winning, so Gu Qin wanted to take this chance to talk to her more while she was still in a good mood. However, when he just sent her a message, she had already left the game and didn't see it. Having no other choice, Gu Qin quietly followed her outside. After that, he went to find Jun Nan and asked his friend to help by inviting Tianling out. It turned out that Gu Qin just wanted to invite her to dinner to make peace, but as soon as they sat down, Tianling's first sentence made Gu Qin feel awkward. She coldly told the waiter to bring more cilantro and thanked him casually. Watching Tianling eat cilantro happily as if it were the main dish, Gu Qin could only try to act considerate by pouring water for her. However, she stayed silent and indifferent. Having no other option, he asked Jun Nan to help by passing the glass of water to Tianling. Honestly, if the two of them ever got married, Jun Nan would definitely deserve to sit at the groom's family table. When Gu Qin mentioned the game character that Tianling had drawn before, she slowly started to show interest again. The two began to discuss excitedly about who suited the character, Lin Ji, in the game, the atmosphere suddenly became surprisingly harmonious, to the point that even Junnan couldn't get a word in. At the same time, after finishing work, Tianling heard that Xindi was in trouble. After understanding what had happened, her sharp and strong personality made the landlord too scared to argue back. Xindi looked at Tianling with eyes full of admiration. However, when she opened Tianling's wardrobe, Xindi was shocked to discover a big secret. She saw a sketch that Gu Qin had drawn, as if she had just touched something unbelievable. It turned out that earlier, when Gu Qin brought milk tea to the house, he happened to meet Xindi, who was temporarily staying at Tianling's place. However, when he saw the way Tianling was dressed, Gu Qin was taken aback. To distract her, he quickly handed her the cup of milk tea he had bought beforehand. Unexpectedly, Tianling refused it outright. The silent battle between the two somehow spread to Xindi. Since Gu Qin had always indulged Tianling, he obediently followed her lead. Xindi came over to visit Tianling. He quickly smiled and said that it wouldn't be right for a guest to come without being served, subtly asserting his position as the host. His tactful remark made the atmosphere in the room more comfortable, and he discreetly watched Tianling's reaction to see if she was pleased. Looking at the cup of milk tea Gu Qin had brought, Xindi suddenly noticed something strange. She knew that the brand was so popular, people had to wait in line for nearly 2 hours to buy it. To prevent Xindi from thinking too much, Tianling quickly made an excuse to leave the room. It turned out that Gu Qin had come to give her a USB containing documents to help her prepare for cooperation with Lan Yu. However, when she found that the USB required a password to open, Tianling reluctantly asked him about it. Unexpectedly, Gu Qin, who usually replied to messages in a flash, deliberately acted arrogant and didn't respond right away. After thinking for a while, Tianling realized he was probably trying to be shameless on purpose. When she typed the phrase, "forgive you," the USB suddenly opened. In return, she prepared a set of documents about Lan Yu and gave them to him, even setting her own password to challenge him. Unexpectedly, every password Gu Qin guessed turned out to be wrong. He tried "nuo mi xiao ma hua," then "girlfriend," but it was still not right. At that moment, Gu Qin clearly felt failure approaching. The next morning, as soon as he woke up, Gu Qin immediately went to knock on her door. It turned out that he had just received a call from Junnan, who informed him that Lan Yu might be secretly taken away by their rival, Boss Xian. It turned out that yesterday, while Tianling was doing a demo for Lan Yu, she was accidentally seen by Boss Xian, wanting to secure the cooperation project with Lang Yu. He acted first, making the situation more complicated. Meanwhile, Tianling was still busy thinking about her upcoming business trip. She had no idea that her close friend had secretly upgraded her airplane cabin. Since Xindi discovered Gu Qin's drawing inside Tianling's closet, she had quietly been trying to bring the two closer together. Watching Tianling focus on her painting, Gu Qin's gaze seemed glued to her, filled with unconcealed affection. However, when the two arrived, they failed miserably before they could even convince Lang Yu and were rejected right from the start. Even so, Tianling didn't lose heart and decided to try again. Unexpectedly, a better opportunity appeared out of nowhere. Lan Yu's friend was suddenly injured, leaving no one to assist with the next Tai Chi performance. Seeing the chance, Tianling immediately pushed Gu Qin onto the stage. Being suddenly pushed out by his wife, Gu Qin had no choice but to reluctantly step forward. Unexpectedly, he not only kept up with the moves, but also coordinated perfectly with Lan Yu. Seeing that scene, Tianling suddenly felt secretly jealous, even though she was the one who had pushed him forward. While Tianling was still busy being jealous, Gu Qin quickly noticed Lang Yu's interests. He saw that there was a mini gun model on her water cup, a familiar symbol from the game. When Lang Yu was about to log into the game, Tianling also volunteered to join. With the perfect teamwork between Gu Qin and Tianling, Lang Yu quickly noticed something strange. She laughed and said that the two of them cooperated too smoothly, just like longtime teammates. Taking this opportunity, Tianling began to introduce the character Lin Ji, the figure in their project. When she heard Tianling say that Lin Ji's personality matched her own, Lang Yu immediately became interested. She was especially drawn in when Tianling shared that the core spirit of the game was, "Even if thousands try to stop me, I will still move forward." Tianling explained that on their journey of making the game, the whole team had faced countless obstacles. No one believed they could succeed, and maybe more difficulties would come later. But that didn't matter, because they believed they were on the right path and doing the right thing. Those words made Gu Qin look at her with deep admiration and affection. After all, he too had experienced rejection from others before. At that moment, Gu Qin was completely captivated by Tianling's determination and dedication to her work. He realized that perhaps only she could truly understand and empathize with him. A quiet yet strong feeling of happiness rose inside Gu Qin. Later, when he saw Tianling secretly looking at her favorite keyboard, card, but hesitating to buy it, Gu Qin immediately came up with an idea. He pretended to say that he wanted her to help choose a gift for a special girl. Hearing that, Tianling misunderstood and thought the gift was for Lang Yu, so she quickly recommended the keyboard she liked the most. Unexpectedly, it was all part of Gu Qin's thoughtful plan. When she got home and saw the gift delivered, Tianling thought it was something the company sent back after the test period. She even joked that getting a gift from the company wasn't bad at all, but in fact Gu Qin had successfully given that gift to her. Seeing the brand new keyboard on the table, Tianling couldn't hide her happiness, and her smile brightened the whole room. As for Gu Qin, just being able to use a couple's keyboard with her made the corners of his mouth lift slightly, and his eyes were filled with indescribable joy. To get closer to Tianling, Gu Qin came up with a new idea. He invited her to join the company's team-building trip. Coincidentally, the event was held at the very place where they had first met. When the boss saw how Tianling and Gu Qin interacted, he seemed a bit uneasy. He was worried that she might be troubled by other higher-ups, so he subtly reminded his colleagues to pay close attention to the situation. As soon as the meeting started, Tianling took the initiative to thank the boss for giving her the chance to learn in Project Department 9. However, the boss replied that this opportunity was earned by her own effort, and no one could give it to her. When he heard Tianling say that she would do her best not to bring shame to Department 1, the boss just smiled and said that she was too modest. Just as Tianling was about to leave, the boss called her back. He asked her to complete the design of 4 pet dogs within 2 days, the mascots representing the 4 male main characters in the new project of Department 1. It turned out that this was an important project that many people were competing to join. Tianling cleverly said that the deadline was a bit tight, making the atmosphere both tense and amusing. Everyone could tell that she had officially caught the boss's attention. Soon after, the team-building day arrived. While everyone was preparing, Junnan became curious and excited, wanting to know if Gu Qin could win Tianling's heart. It turned out he had seen the girl who had made his heart flutter, the one who just a few minutes ago he had declared that there was no need to form a team. He could fight 10 people alone. However, as soon as that girl said she wanted to join his team, Gu Qin immediately contradicted himself with his actions. The scene made Xindi, who secretly liked Junnan, feel hurt. She could only watch with a mix of jealousy and sadness in her eyes. When the team drawing session began, Junnan accidentally caused trouble. Seeing Tianling holding a blue card, he immediately threw away his red one and quickly switched cards with Gu Qin, just to make sure those two could be on the same team. Unexpectedly, when Xindi helped Tianling draw her card, it turned out to be red. It turned out the blue card she held earlier was just one she had picked up for someone else. When he saw that Su Jiang, who had a secret crush on Tianling, was on the same team as her, Gu Qin was immediately so angry that she almost went crazy. He felt that all his efforts to help had completely failed. Especially when Gu Qin saw Su Jiang and Tianling interacting more and more closely, his jealousy grew. In order to separate the two, he and Junnan made a plan to sneak attack Su Jiang, causing his performance to end early so that Gu Qin could change teams. Gu Qin then made an excuse that Xindi's team was full of newcomers and needed support, and then proactively asked to change to her team. Thanks to that, he could be on the same team as Tianling. With the good coordination between the two, they took turns defeating each opponent neatly. Wherever Tianling was, there was definitely Gu Qin who was trying to show off. To make Tianling happy, Gu Qin even cheated a little, making others exclaim in surprise that he was truly a big brother who spoiled his girlfriend to the point of disregarding everything. Next to Tianling, he completely transformed into an innocent, adorable little boy. Unfortunately, in return, he only received a cold glance from Tianling. Meanwhile, when Junnan saw the girl he liked in trouble, he immediately abandoned Xindi to run to help. Seeing his best friend suffer just to help others regain justice, Tianling felt that she could not ignore it. Therefore, she took the initiative to lead Xindi to cooperate in taking down Junnan. Before the party ended, Junnan even tried to ask for the WeChat of the girl he secretly liked. Seeing this, Gu Qin could not bear it and immediately sent several warning messages to his best friend. During the entire group party, Gu Qin transformed into a little boy, happily observing the lively atmosphere of the project. No 9 department, Tianling could not help but admire it. When Tianling mentioned "you guys," Gu Qin quickly changed it to "we," so that she could feel that even though she was working part-time, she was still part of the department. Seeing her positive attitude, her colleagues invited Tianling to officially join the project No. 9 department. However, just as she was considering it, Boss Xiang suddenly appeared. He was angry because he thought Tianling was attending another department's party, causing tension. Seeing his lover being scolded, Gu Qin could not sit still. He immediately confronted Boss Xiang directly. It turned out that Gu Qin and Boss boss Shan were seniors at school, often working on big game projects together. Although they recognized each other's talents, the two disagreed on many things as if they were born different. On the day boss Shan graduated, the conflict erupted and the two went their separate ways. This time, to determine the winner, they decided to try their college darts again. In the first game, they were evenly matched. However, in the second game, boss Shan lost because of a single sentence, causing the two to get angry and almost fight. After the party ended, Gu Qin got drunk and rebelled. Tianling tried to get the car keys, but Gu Qin misunderstood and asked why she was touching them so much. When Tianling finally found the keys, she also put Gu Qin in the car safely. At the same time, Jun Nan was also drunk. He shouted to call the girl he liked, but mistakenly dialed Xingdi's number. The innocent guy said that he just wanted to be friends with her, and when Xingdi agreed, he happily accepted. Xingdi looked at Jun Nan, who she secretly liked, but a bitter feeling still lingered because of the sudden interruption. Immediately after, Tianling jumped straight into Gu Qin's arms. Her screams made Mother run out. Seeing this scene, Mother mistook Gu Qin for Tianling's gaming boyfriend and couldn't help but feel upset. After hearing Tianling say that this was the boss, her attitude changed in a flash, asking for his name and even caring if Gu Qin had a girlfriend. Seeing Mother asking so many questions, Tianling had to quickly stop her mother and carry her into the house. However, Gu Qin did not miss the opportunity to please his future mother-in-law. The next morning, he went to Tianling's house, acting attentive and thoughtful. When he heard Tianling's mother's compliments, Gu Qin immediately paid attention. Her mother made soft tofu, which Tianling loved very much. Tianling was surprised and doubted the relationship between Gu Qin and her mother, feeling as if she was not her mother's biological child. But when Tianling's mother saw Gu Qin picking up fried dough sticks for her, she remembered the scene where her father pursued her in the past. Gu Qin immediately saw the opportunity, cleverly caught her mother, and it seemed that from now on, he had a powerful assistant on his way to conquer his wife. Then the two exchanged contact numbers. Seeing Gu Qin's acting, Tianling teased him and secretly thought that he was capable of winning an Oscar. When Tianling's mother was about to leave, Gu Qin quickly offered to take her home, causing Tianling to stare at him, feeling like he was plotting something. It turned out that Tianling's promotion made Gu Qin worried. In order to keep her in the Project 1 department, boss Xian directly offered her the position of art team leader. But Gu Qin firmly believed that Tianling would return to his department, so the two made a bet with each other. Realizing the danger, Tianling rushed home. When she stepped out of the elevator, the lights suddenly went out, scaring her to the core. With no other choice, she asked Gu Qin for help to find out if anyone was following her. Gu Qin immediately took her to the residential surveillance room, hoping to find the suspect. However, the security guard reported that the computer had a virus and could not connect to the camera, causing all efforts to fail. Gu Qin finally suggested calling the police to handle the matter. After the police filed a case, they blamed Gu Qin for picking up Tianling home because she was so late. Gu Qin happily accepted this responsibility and promised not to leave Tianling alone again. When leaving the station, Gu Qin naturally held Tianling's hand on the way home. Seeing that she was still worried, he quickly did a few things on his phone to ensure safety. When she got home, Tianling was still scared, so she carefully set up a barricade in front of the door. Before she could finish, there was a knock on the door, forcing her to slowly dismantle the barricade. Seeing that Tianling had not opened the door for a long time, Gu Qin thought something had happened to her and was about to break the door when she opened it. He glanced at the piled-up items and realized that she had just built a defensive fortress. Then he checked the window and hung up his clothes to mark it, just because of the appearance of his childhood friend, Tianling. Gu Qin immediately became alert. When he saw Tianling standing next to someone else, he began to act. The feeling between them was like the smell of gunpowder, silent but intense. Through the way he fought, Gu Qin clearly showed his dissatisfaction with the other party. Immediately after, when Su Jiang said he would take Tianling to work, Gu Qin immediately spoke rudely, asserting that he did not need an outsider to take his girlfriend. He emphasized that he and Tianling went to work together every day. Seeing this, Su Jiang refused to give up, recalling the story of Tianling often following him when they were young. Hearing this, Gu Qin became even more suspicious, looking at Tianling with scrutiny. In particular, when Su Jiang invited Tianling to be his girlfriend to attend Gu Qin's friend's wedding, he couldn't sit still anymore. Tianling said that she was busy with work and probably couldn't go. Su Jiang warned that if she didn't go with him, he would get myocarditis and be hospitalized. Seeing the two of them side by side, Gu Qin wanted to get in between them, but was pushed away by Su Jiang. Seeing Gu Qin pretending to be pitiful, Tianling completely believed the other party. This time, she realized that Gu Qin lost because he didn't know how to sell the carpet. Back at the company, Tianling received a message from Su Jiang. He resolutely sent her clothes by express delivery. Huang saw that Tianling didn't like the clothes, so she immediately guessed that someone she didn't like sent them. When Tianling confirmed, Huang advised her to just refuse if she didn't like them. After thinking for a while, Tianling thought it made sense, so she took the clothes and went to meet Su Jiang for lunch. When it was lunchtime and she didn't come back, Gu Qin pretended to casually ask Huang about Tianling and quickly got the information. He immediately went to the Japanese restaurant and saw the two figures. Gu Qin interrupted the meal, making Tianling suspicious. When he saw Su Jiang ordering Japanese food for her, Gu Qin pushed her away and ordered a plate of coriander for her. This time, Gu Qin clearly won. Not willing to give up, Su Jiang pulled Tianling back, reminding her to be smart as an older brother. Hearing Su Jiang bad-mouthing him, Gu Qin sat down next to her with a resentful expression. He also admitted that he was playing the role of the third person more and more smoothly, and at the same time admired their childhood friendship. He emphasized that he had no childhood friendship since childhood, had never known any girls, and did not know how to communicate with girls. This scene made Su Jiang so angry that he wanted to cause a fight. At the same time, Tianling pinched Gu Qin's thigh. Even though he was in pain, he still didn't let go of her. Only when Tianling answered the phone and walked out did Gu Qin return to normal. Looking at the pile of clothes Su Jiang sent, he asked to transfer money back, but Su Jiang refused. Gu Qin insisted that if he didn't accept it, Gu Qin would be upset. Seeing this, Su Jiang had no choice but to accept the money. Gu Qin deliberately spilled chili sauce, ruining the clothes that smelled of Su Jiang. When Tianling returned, Gu Qin deliberately told him that he didn't do it on purpose, and emphasized that he had also transferred money back to Gu Qin. It must be admitted that in the art of tea ceremony, Gu Qin was truly unbeatable. Thanks to his cunning, he was able to send Tianling's Su Jiang away. However, as soon as he sent Su Jiang away, Gu Qin discovered something unusual. A man in black appeared. When he saw the face clearly, he realized that it was just a security guard. The next morning, Gu Qin realized that there was something wrong with the security guard, because the shoes of the man in black and the security guard were identical. In order to find out the truth, he deliberately acted out a play with Tianling. First, he made the security guard hear his home password. Then he took his suitcase on a business trip and deliberately told the security guard that Tianling would come to his house. Sure enough, the surveillance camera malfunctioned that night, and the man in black broke into the house. Gu Qin quickly defeated the security guard with one move. It turned out that the person following Tianling was the security guard of the residential area. Because he was too excited, Tianling accidentally hurt Gu Qin's leg. When the police arrived, they couldn't help but praise his investigative skills. On the way back, his mother-in-law called Gu Qin. Tianling was surprised, but when she heard her mother's voice, she felt that the way Gu Qin named the contact was easy to misunderstand. Seeing Gu Qin move his shoulder, Tianling guessed that he might be injured, so she went home to apply medicine for him. Although she blamed him for not being careful, she was still worried. When Gu Qin tried to take the opportunity to tease her, Tianling became fierce. The two of them looked like a couple of lovers arguing. After helping Tianling check the window and confirm safety, Gu Qin tried to leave. Looking at his back, Tianling wondered if he liked her, but immediately dismissed the thought. Back at the company, she received a message from her in-game friend, and knew that Junnan wanted to show off his girlfriend to everyone. This news startled Tianling. She stood up and quickly called Xindi, because she saw that Junnan and Feng were getting along well. Tianling felt uncomfortable, and at the same time, Xiao Mai realized the situation. Because Xindi was her friend, Tianling praised Xiao Mai for being better at games than Junnan. When Junnan showed off his girlfriend everywhere, Xiao Mai started pairing Gu Qin and Tianling to make the cousins happy. Xiao Mai quickly ran to the bathroom, while Gu Qin continued to show off all kinds of tricks to attract attention and show off. Unfortunately, Tianling refused everything. At this time, Su Jiang brought her pepper spray, because he was worried that Tianling had been followed and was not safe. Even though the bad guy was arrested, he still gave her a bottle for self-defense. Seeing that someone else was attracting Tianling's attention, Gu Qin did not hold back, pouring out all kinds of criticism about pepper spray. When Tianling received Su Jiang's stuff, Gu Qin immediately made a plan, intending to take him down while playing games. When receiving the signal from Junnan about whether everyone was playing the game, each person had 5 lives. As soon as the match started, Gu Qin made everyone lose a finger. However, when she heard that Su Jiang Tianling had won the Youth Calligraphy Award, Tianling was full of admiration. Gu Qin quickly showed off his height of 1m87 to attract her attention. After a few rounds, it was clear that Su Jiang had such a strong advantage that Gu Qin was left with only one finger. Not wanting to lose, Gu Qin used his final move. When Xiao Mai mentioned that he had never had a relationship and had never met anyone, Junnan suggested asking everyone for help, and Gu Qin won the match. When she saw Su Jiang's provocative behavior, in order to prevent him from confessing to Tianling, Gu Qin immediately hugged him and stole his phone. Sure enough, after taking the photo, Su Jiang's phone ran out of battery. Not knowing this, Su Jiang even deliberately went out to borrow a power bank. After Gu Qin finished the gathering, in order to ensure Tianling's safety, he prepared the first set of overbearing tools, including a magnetic door that could be connected to the phone so that he could know the movements outside the door at any time. When Tianling asked what to do if there was movement and she was not at home, Gu Qin also suggested that it could be connected to his phone. This suggestion made Tianling feel a bit strange, like a mistress detector. Seeing this, Gu Qin was not angry, but also brought out a water leak alarm and a baseball bat. Seeing Gu Qin so thoughtful, Tianling could not help but tease him, at the same time commenting that his grandmother was equally thoughtful. She felt that the way the two of them were together was very much like lovers. The next day at the company, Tianling faced another challenge, because the lack of coordination between the two departments led to problems with the filming of Lang Yu. She blamed herself, and in order to salvage the damage, Tianling discussed a solution with Fan Xing. Through all sorts of exchanges, she proposed using optical motion to make up for Lang Yu's missing footage. Finally, Lang Yu's action scene was completed. Tianling then promised Gu Qin that she would adjust the time in the future to ensure that the work would not overlap. However, when she returned home, Tianling felt conflicted because of Gu Qin's words, not knowing whether she should go to project department number 9 or not. The next day, Tianling also used a coin toss to decide, but unexpectedly, the coin tossed was picked up by the boss. It turned out that she had just mumbled to herself, and the boss had heard it all. Seeing Tianling's bewildered look, the boss also reassured her that the coin toss was not the final result. As long as she followed her heart, everything else was unimportant. Holding the coin tightly in her hand, Tianling finally made a decision. When she told Boss Xian that she wanted to leave, as expected, he immediately refused. Tianling was so rejected that she felt sluggish even when eating. Junnan was standing behind. He heard that Tianling wanted to go to the 9th project department, so he asked if she needed help. However, this time, Gu Qin refused because he believed that she could join the 9th project department on her own. Sure enough, she got this opportunity not long after. It turned out that Wu Minghua invited Tianling to attend an offline meeting of the artist community, and even brought Wu Minghua's signature. Huang was excited when she heard the news and exclaimed that the boss wanted to contact Wu Minghua directly. However, there was no shortcut, and Huang did not expect that her careless words would give Tianling the idea to help the boss sign a contract with Wu Minghua. The Love Broker project needed to be announced anyway, and Wu Minghua was the best candidate. Just like that, Tianling left the first project department. At the same time, Gu Qin had been waiting for her for a long time. Seeing Gu Qin spread his arms, Tianling thought he wanted to hug her, but unexpectedly, Gu Qin only accepted her box. When the two of them arrived at the door of the 9th project department, Su Jiang immediately brought fresh flowers to stop them. Not only that, Su Jiang also deliberately interrupted the two of them. When he saw the interaction between the two, he was angry but couldn't do anything. He could only reveal his existence. Gu Qin also mentioned the previous bet. Now that Tianling had arrived at the 9th project department, it meant he had won, so he proposed to take her to a place to stay. The landlady didn't care, and the repairman had already gotten off work, so Tianling had no choice but to find a roommate to stay with. However, her roommate had gone back to her hometown, and in order to avoid sleeping on the street, Tianling had no choice but to knock on Gu Qin's door. After checking and confirming that the password lock was out of battery, and hearing Tianling say she wanted to stay at a hotel but didn't have an ID, Gu Qin quickly invited her to his house. When she saw him take out a pair of pink slippers, Tianling became jealous and frankly said that she liked to wear slippers one size larger. The two of them were really bold, but she didn't expect that later she would also discover that a couple cup and a lover's pillow had been prepared. After Tianling finished washing her face, Gu Qin invited her to to watch a horror movie. Admittedly, he really was full of tricks. When she saw the scene, Tianling became visibly nervous, but she didn't expect Gu Qin to use this trick, then switch to the old trick. It made her exclaim, "What are you doing?" in a low voice, to watch her wife's reaction. Gu Qin was really clever and mean. When the horror scene scared Tianling, he told her to sit a little closer to him. She tried to act like she wasn't afraid, but her heart was trembling, making him speechless with joy. Tianling was still very scared, especially when she heard the creaking sound and felt the sofa shaking. Coupled with the curtain blowing on her head, she couldn't bear it anymore, so she made an excuse to go to sleep to save her image and left the room. However, Gu Qin found her phone in the gap of the sofa. The next day, Gu Qin not only prepared an exquisite breakfast for Tianling, but also thoughtfully prepared a change of clothes. Seeing how carefully prepared everything was, Tianling couldn't calm down. Gu Qin could only pour her water, but when she saw the double cup, she remembered that she had used an excuse not to accept it last night. Finally, when Gu Qin explained that the double cup belonged to Junnan and that his girlfriend thought it was ugly so she didn't take it, Tianling was relieved. In addition, the lover's pillow and the pillow in the room were also Junnan's. When mentioning the pink slippers, Gu Qin frankly said that he bought them specifically for Tianling. Knowing the truth, she was finally happy. On the way to work, Tianling received a phone call from her roommate. Knowing that she was at Gu Qin's house last night, her best friend immediately exclaimed, "If he doesn't like you, then what else could it be?" Sure enough, Tianling realized the truth. However, Su Jian was very sad when he saw Tianling. He intended to say hello, but remembering the call last night, especially Gu Qin's bright smile, made Su Jian feel uncomfortable. At the same time, Tianling was working and looked at Gu Qin. She suddenly remembered what her best friend said and couldn't help but wonder, does Gu Qin really like her? When he saw Tianling and Su Jian leave, Gu Qin was also not calm and even pressed his ear to the door to eavesdrop. Hearing the three people chatting happily, he got angry and left. Looking through the curtain and seeing Tianling return, he hurriedly asked for news. This conflict between the two was related to both of their mothers. It turned out that Tianling's mother had arranged a match and cooperated with Gu Qin's mother to book tickets for the two to attend a couple talk show. But Gu Qin didn't know that the blind date was Tianling, so he immediately refused. Tianling thought he was shy, so he went around in circles to go to the appointment. Tianling not only put on makeup but also took care of her hair to prepare for this meeting. But after waiting for a long time without seeing Gu Qin's shadow, Tianling, who had originally intended to text and ask again, found herself getting more and more anxious, not knowing that at this time, Gu Qin was still discussing work at the company. As the time got closer, Tianling had no choice but to call her mother, asking when Gu Qin would arrive. At that time, he had just finished work, and when he saw the note on Tianling's computer, he realized that something was wrong, especially when he heard his mother say that the blind date worked in the same as for job as her. Gu Qin finally couldn't keep calm and immediately called Tianling, but the phone said it was turned off. Tianling waited for a long time but didn't see Gu Qin arrive, feeling that perhaps this time she was being sentimental. When evening came, she saw that Gu Qin was already downstairs. She angrily ignored him. The two of them continued like this, one chasing, the other running. She was going to go home, but suddenly remembered that her door lock was broken and had not been fixed. She was going to call a locksmith, but her phone ran out of battery, so Gu Qin stood there watching Tianling break the lock herself, as if she was venting all her frustration on the lock. Even after contacting the locksmith, her anger did not subside. When the locksmith saw the broken lock, he exclaimed, "So strong! It's true that with money you can buy anything." Seeing Gu Qin enter, Tianling also teased, "You have a house, but you don't go home." At that moment, the locksmith pushed Gu Qin in. The locksmith reported that the door was fixed, so Tianling hurriedly pulled Gu Qin away, but unexpectedly, she could not open the door. Seeing this scene, Gu Qin was overjoyed because he had a reason to stay at Tianling's house overnight. When the locksmith said he wouldn't be able to fix it until tomorrow, Tianling was furious. No matter what Tianling said, Gu Qin agreed immediately, but when she told him to climb through the window to go home, Gu Qin began to hesitate. With no other choice, he continued to apologize. When he accidentally tripped over a book and understood Tianling's temperament, Gu Qin began to apologize sincerely. The conflict between the two was finally resolved. Just because he stayed at Tianling's house for one night, he naturally considered himself the owner of the house. Since last night, seeing Tianling's portrait of himself in the wardrobe, he finally understood why she was so upset. Remembering how he once rejected Tianling's confession in front of the whole school, he felt extremely guilty at this moment. The next morning, looking at Gu Qin sleeping soundly, Tianling, who was crazy about boys, looked at his thick and long eyelashes and couldn't help but touch them. But this touch not only woke him up, it also caught her hair in the sofa zipper. Tianling was extremely panicked because of being misunderstood. However, Gu Qin calmly helped her untangle her hair so that Tianling wouldn't fall and hugged her tightly. After her hair was freed, Tianling, feeling embarrassed, ran away quickly but was surprised to see that he had already washed her clothes. Back at the company, Gu Qin suddenly made an important decision to change the release date of the Yi Shailu advertisement video. This unexpected decision made the board members very unhappy. Even though Gu Qin said he would deliver the new video within 5 days, the board was still dissatisfied when he said that if the video was not submitted in 5 days, he would take full responsibility alone. The shareholders reluctantly let him off. The reason Gu Qin changed the release date was that he had watched an interview of a classmate in the same field. From that interview, he realized the shortcomings of the game, Shailu, so he decided to postpone the posting date. After finishing the discussion about the advertisement, the team began to look for remaining weaknesses in Shailu. Seeing Gu Qin tense from work, Tianling felt concerned. She suggested playing a fun quiz game to help him relax. When she saw him gradually stop being upset about work, she still wasn't fully at ease. She hugged Gu Qin and comforted him until the driver behind honked, startling him and making him realize she had returned home. At first, Tianling planned to call him to go eat, but she saw the lights off at his house. It turned out that he had brought her home and returned to the company to continue working. The next day, when her colleagues had no new ideas, Tianling boldly put forward her suggestion. As soon as she heard her presentation, Gu Qin's eyes lit up. With this suggestion, her colleagues kept coming up with new ideas, which eventually helped the team solve Shailu's shortcomings. However, this increased the workload of the art design team. Tianling wanted to try, but she had no experience and was afraid that it would affect the progress. However, when Fan Xing assigned her a design-related task, she was still full of motivation. She kept searching for materials and asking her superiors for advice, and finally created a weapon model that satisfied her. However, the 3D modeling team rejected her product because the weapon did not specify the material, which increased the workload of the modeling team. Seeing Tianling upset, Su Zheng appeared and said that he knew a little about modeling and was willing to help her. When the two were about to start, Gu Qin arrived and witnessed the two of them having a heated confrontation. Tianling refused both of their help. Then, when Su Zheng asked if she wanted some tea, Tianling realized that the atmosphere between them was not good. She made an excuse that she had just come up with a new idea and hurried away. After changing the design, the 3D modeling team finally met the requirements. The advertisement for the game, Shailu, was ready to be released. Although everyone was tired, there was a sense of accomplishment in everyone's eyes. But when she turned around, Tianling found that Gu Qin was taking medicine. Afraid that he would stay up too much and harm his health, she quickly touched his forehead. She mustered up all her courage and volunteered to be the driver. Looking at Gu Qin sleeping soundly, she felt sorry for him and decided to let him sleep a little longer. While driving around, she damaged some public property because she took a wide turn. Fortunately, Gu Qin apologized and compensated in time, so everything was over. Unexpectedly, Tianling offered to pay half the compensation. Gu Qin was puzzled, and when he recalled what Tianling said when she was drunk, he realized that she had pretended to be drunk. At the same time, Junnan couldn't balance work and love, so they broke up. Seeing him mocking himself for his feelings for Shindi, she helped him relieve stress by asking him to kick balloons. He was shy at first, but as each balloon popped, Junnan's mood gradually became better. The next day, as soon as he arrived at the company, Gu Qin received bad news. The display area for Shailu had been taken by Boss Xian. It turned out that Boss Xian's love broker had just announced the product, and within more than 10 hours, hundreds of thousands of people had deposited money. For the sake of the company's profits, Shailu was forced to put it on hold so as not to waste the team's efforts. Gu Qin immediately made a decision. He would post the Shailu ad early, under everyone's supervision. Finally, the ad was officially released. As soon as the ad was posted, it received a lot of likes. The positive comments made the team happy, but the boss was not satisfied. It turned out that Gu Qin wanted to use a slightly larger display to show that they not only wanted to make games, but also wanted to create products that matched the team's spirit. Hearing Gu Qin's words, the boss was silent because Gu Qin's idea was in line with his thoughts. When Gu Qin left, everyone was nervous, afraid that they wouldn't get a display space. Unexpectedly, Gu Qin's single remark about taking the time to arrange the display completely put everyone at ease. Everyone enthusiastically walked towards the boss, arguing fiercely, but after watching the Shailu commercial, the boss finally applauded Gu Qin. Not only was he the creator of the game, but he also attracted many other fans. Seeing the love rival appear, little Chili immediately stood up. As soon as she sent the two love rivals away, she saw Gu Qin being entangled with another girl, which made her jealous. Gu Qin had to find a way way to keep them away from each other by choosing to play a girl game that was not suitable for himself. As soon as the test started, Sujang appeared again, causing Gu Qin to become jealous. When Tianling said she would end her single life within 3 days, both of them panicked, their eyes blazing with tension. Tianling felt something was wrong. On the way home, she deliberately brought up the test just now, intending to suggest Gu Qin confess, but Gu Qin completely did not understand. Not knowing that he had long prepared to confess to create a surprise, he told Tianling to go upstairs first, but before her eyes was another surprise. She happily looked around for Gu Qin, but the person who came was Sujang. When she saw him, Tianling immediately became gloomy, her eyes filled with hesitation. Sujang realized the answer in Tianling's heart. Although he was sad, he did not regret having worked hard for love, and decided to say goodbye to this love. He hugged Tianling one last time, but that hug made Gu Qin misunderstand. He felt like everything was falling apart. When he returned home and saw the sudden preparations for confession, Gu Qin felt heartbroken and speechless. It was not until Junnan called to ask if the confession was successful that he came to his senses. It turned out that Junnan was still complaining about Gu Qin's stubbornness, and he had hung up long ago. Tianling brought dinner back, worried that she would discover the surprises Gu Qin had prepared. He quickly turned off the lights and even posed seductively to divert her attention. When Tianling said that the test just now was correct because someone confessed, and thus they confirmed their relationship, Gu Qin immediately gave her his payment password. Seeing Gu Qin's sincerity, Tianling also handed over her password. Once when Tianling saw Gu Qin sleeping, she frowned and intended to let him rest, but accidentally woke him up. In the end, she fell into Gu Qin's arms. When the two were about to make their next move, they were caught by their colleagues. Even though he was wearing VR goggles and couldn't see anything, Gu Qin didn't let up, combining work with personal revenge and striking blow after blow. Thanks to the single benefits, Tianling also drew the secret box she liked the most. But this made Gu Qin unhappy, because he felt that he was not as good as a secret box. Seeing Gu Qin angry, Tianling began to coax him. When Tianling wanted to buy a phone for Gu Qin was not satisfied, because if it was a new model, he would have to buy it for her. It must be said that he was easy to coax, but when he wanted to hold her hand, Tianling refused. It turned out that Huang came, saw the two of them wearing the same jacket, suspected that this was a couple outfit. Gu Qin beside her was so happy that she wanted to faint, and tried to divert Huang's attention. Tianling had no choice but to tell him. The boss said to invite the whole office to drink coffee. I will come there to help him carry it. Having a girlfriend who was always reporting to her, Gu Qin was really miserable, speechless. When she saw that Gu Qin did not really help her carry the coffee, she had no choice but to keep silent. But soon after, the coffee in her hand was taken away. It turned out that Gu Qin wanted Tianling to publicize their identities on social media. If they couldn't publicize it in the company, then publicize it elsewhere. Sure enough, as soon as she returned to the company, Tianling officially announced it. Seeing her post, Gu Qin also responded. They were indeed a perfect match. Tianling flirted with hot boy, Gu Qin flirted with hot girl. After returning home, in order to further attract Gu Qin's attention, Tianling found out some love tips and sprayed perfume on her hair. Unexpectedly, this action made Gu Qin sneeze. Although he couldn't kiss her this time, he thought of another way. He used the excuse of borrowing a hairdryer to enter Tianling's house. Although their love was beautiful, their friendship had problems. It turned out that there had been a previous violation that caused Gu Qin to suddenly leave without notice. It made Junnan feel that Gu Qin didn't consider him a friend. Although the problem had been resolved perfectly, the conflict between the two still existed. Seeing this scene, Tianling and Xindi were very worried. In order to resolve the conflict, Xindi came up with a plan. She deliberately mentioned Gu Qin and Boss Xian's fight in front of Junnan. At first, he didn't pay attention, but when he heard Boss Xian beat Gu Qin, Junnan was no longer calm. In anger, he sprinted like he was running 100 meters to the conference room, but saw no one. Only when he saw a complete Gu Qin in front of him did Junnan feel relieved. Finally, the two made up. After knowing that Gu Qin and Tianling were in love, as Tianling's best friends, Huang bought Tianling a nightgown. Although she said she didn't need it, Gu Qin still found the nightgown at her house. When he returned to the company, he saw Tianling talking to Sujang. He was jealous, tried to chase Sujang away, and arranged more work for him. But for Tianling, Gu Qin was gentle and considerate. He came to give his love to Tianling, using work as an excuse to bring her snacks and drinks, consolidating his position in her heart. He also gave her a pair of cups. At the same time, Junnan discovered that Xindi had a secret crush on him, panicked and ran away. The reason was all because he received a call from his ex-girlfriend. Meanwhile, Gu Qin and Tianling were cooking dinner at home when they saw an uninvited guest, Junnan. Gu Qin also declared declared his identity in a very domineering manner. It turned out that it was all Junnan's doing. He had long realized that Junnan was best friend and pulled both of them into the story, telling about the relationship between him and Xindi. Even though it was told from friend's perspective, Tianling still realized that Xindi had a secret crush on Junnan. When Tianling heard that he ran away after being confessed, she couldn't calm down, and Gu Qin also knew that the person was Junnan. The next morning, when she arrived at the company, Tianling looked for Xindi with the intention of comforting her, but it turned out that Xindi had already thought it through. Meanwhile, Junnan had been trying to attract Xindi's attention when she ignored him. The relationship between Gu Qin and Tianling was finally exposed in the company, and the two no longer had to secretly date. Tianling originally wanted to try on a nightgown, but unexpectedly, Fan Xing needed the original painting of Lin Ji. Because she didn't bring her computer, she had to borrow Gu Qin's computer. As soon as she sent the original painting, Gu Qin's mother arrived, which confused Tianling. She quickly put on her coat and explained, "I don't normally dress like this." When Gu Qin's mother said she liked Tianling, she immediately promised to buy another one, so as not to spoil the mood. Not only did the two exchange WeChat messages, but Tianling also knew Gu Qin's mother's measurements. Unexpectedly, as soon as they became friends, Gu Qin called her. On the way home, Gu Qin's mother also began to ask about their relationship. After Tianling left, Gu Qin's mother even praised Gu Qin. While his mother was teaching him, he secretly cleaned up his game books and immediately ran to Tianling's house. It turned out that Gu Qin wanted to know if Tianling had accidentally said something. Therefore, he kept reminding her. If his mother asked what the two of them were doing, they must say they were researching artificial intelligence. Gu Qin's mother did not interfere, but she always observed carefully, especially when she knew he was making games. When the two of them returned home, they did not see Gu Qin's mother. It turned out that she had discovered that Gu Qin was making games, and the mother and son had a little conflict. Tianling psychologically comforted them, helping them quickly make up. She even pretended to say that she had broken up with Gu Qin to stall for time. The next morning, Gu Qin's mother completed the plan, and Tianling could only confide in her about her grievances to stall for time, to wait for Gu Qin and his mother to talk properly. However, his mother, with her sharp eyes, noticed the problem from small details, such as the instant noodles at Tianling's house. Preparing to leave, Gu Qin's mother unexpectedly met Gu Qin, but he held her back. It turned out that Gu Qin took out his father's diary, which was full of his regrets for being too passionate about the game industry and losing his family. The character Lin Ji in the game, Xie Lu, had been his father's wish, who had wanted him to have a happy and fulfilled family, like in the story. After realizing that Gu Qin was trying to fulfill his father's wish, his mother accepted him. She only reminded him to pay attention to his health so that he would not have to work hard like her husband. Seeing all that Tianling had done for him, Gu Qin could not help but want to kiss her, but unfortunately, he could not. The couple who had just fallen in love suddenly faced the risk of breaking up. The reason was that a competitor wanted to buy the company, because in a short time, they could not see the benefits from Xie Lu. The shareholders jointly sold their shares to the competitor. After hearing that the shareholders had sold their shares to the competitor, Gu Qin took the initiative to go to the competitor. He realized that this decision had come from his intention to send Xie Lu and the entire project department number 9 to the competitor company. When the boss heard the news, the two sides had a heated argument. Some agreed with Gu Qin's decision, others opposed it. While working, Tianling advised Gu Qin to think carefully and not make the wrong decision. However, her warning was rejected. This disagreement caused a conflict between the two. She even refused to accept the breakfast Gu Qin had brought. In the evening, Tianling drank with Xindi at the bar. Xindi heard Junnan say that he would follow Gu Qin's decision, which made Tianling and Xindi feel even more that in the eyes of these two men, the 9th project department was all about benefits and prospects, and no real feelings. From one drink to another, Tianling returned home drunk, even angrier when she could not open the door because she had entered the wrong password. Her screams attracted Gu Qin's attention, who came and knew about her thoughts and complaints. Tianling felt nauseous when he approached, so she had to separate the smell of alcohol from her body. After she fell asleep, Gu Qin carefully carried her to bed. The next morning, Tianling woke up and saw Gu Qin there, but she couldn't overcome the barrier in her heart. She left alone, returning the gift Gu Qin gave her. Because they were close friends, Xindi also returned Junnan's gift. After misunderstanding Gu Qin and Junnan, Tianling realized that the reason they wanted to send Team 5 to the rival company was to delay the time to buy the company and find new investors. This would save costs after the company was acquired, because Gu Qin, taking the initiative to send Team 5 to the company, could save a large amount of money. Although Gu Qin tried to contact contact Tianling, she remained indifferent, even going to the restaurant they had arranged for herself. There she knew that the company's shareholders were cooperating with a rival company. Xindi announced that Gu Qin and the rival company would have a formal meeting today. Tianling hurriedly wanted to stop her and warn Gu Qin about the cooperation between the shareholders and the rival company. When he saw Tianling coming, Gu Qin thought she knew his plan. In order not to ruin the plan, he could only use a secret signal. Tianling looked at his expression and finally understood Gu Qin's intentions. However, deceiving her could not be easily overlooked. To punish him, she forced Gu Qin to kneel down and type on the keyboard, but not let his hands touch the keyboard. Seeing Tianling getting angrier and angrier, Gu Qin had to use his knees to type on the computer. Then he motioned for her to look at the screen. Seeing Tianling smile, Gu Qin quickly stood up. His attitude made her feel better and forgive him. Tianling said that she saw the shareholders and the rival company cooperating today, but Gu Qin already knew about it. He had planned to find investors and persuade the shareholders not to sell their shares, in order to ensure the smooth acquisition plan. To support him, Gu Qin also asked Boss Xiang for help. It turned out that Gu Qin wanted Boss Xiang to increase the profits from the love brokerage and betting agreement, in order to increase the chances of retaining the shareholders. Although Boss Xiang did not directly answer Gu Qin, he indeed understood what Gu Qin meant. When negotiating with the shareholders, Boss Xiang not only added the profits from the project to the betting agreement, but also included his own dividends. At this time, the two seemed to disagree, but in the end, they got along, and everything Gu Qin did was based on trust with Gu Qin. At the same time, Xindi resigned. It turned out that she didn't want to work at the rival company, still thinking that Junnan only cared about benefits and future, and had no feelings for the 9th project department. Hearing this, Junnan was also angry, seeing that she was completely different from the sincere love of the little couple. Gu Qin reminded him that Xindi was about to leave. Don't stay here and be sad alone. While everyone was in trouble, shareholders suddenly betrayed and still wanted to sell shares to the rival company. Everyone was helpless, had to stay up all night to find investors, but had no results. Just when he was about to give up, Gu Qin happened to meet an acquaintance who turned out to be his father's old partner. With his help, the rival company couldn't buy the company, and they were still able to complete the Shilu project at the company. On the way home, Tianling received a call from her mother, complaining about the driver. She secretly exclaimed, "Parents like this are rare." Then she received another call from Gu Qin. It turned out that Tianling's cousin had used her account to play games and discovered the existence of her brother-in-law, Gu Qin. This cousin also dragged Gu Qin into the family chat group. Tianling didn't believe it at first, but when she saw it with her own eyes, she could only give up and tell Gu Qin not to say anything. The relatives started to gossip. Gu Qin, the super crazy wife lover who listened to Tianling but didn't say anything, continuously sent a bunch of red envelopes to the family chat group, making everyone in the group very satisfied. When Tianling got home, one second she was still talking normally with her mother. The next second she heard a shrill voice when she saw Gu Qin coming. The mother-in-law was overjoyed to see her son-in-law. On the contrary, the father-in-law was not pleased to see that Tianling really liked Gu Qin and decided to prepare a plan to test him. Gritting his teeth, Gu Qin entered his wife's house and saw that his mother-in-law was extremely happy and his father-in-law was very serious. They had cooked a grand feast to test him. Gu Qin was completely confused by his wife's family's drama, but he still cooperated, prepared to pour wine, and followed the rules. If he answered a question wrong, he had to drink a sip of wine. Unsurprisingly, most people answered wrong. The next day, Gu Qin opened his eyes and saw his father-in-law. He also took on all the housework, cooking, fixing lights, fixing chairs, unclogging toilets, changing sheets. Seeing all the work he did, his father-in-law was finally relieved and accepted. Gu Qin was overjoyed. Now he could freely kiss Tianling right at his wife's house. A year later, the game Shelu officially met. Gu Qin created a game and thanked his teammates in the 9th project department one by one. He hoped that whether in the game world or in real life, their relationship would still be as happy as ever. That's the end of the movie. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.